They said I was quirkless, powerless, nothing. But now I am the fury they created. Every punch that broke me, every laugh that mocked me, every dream they crushed, it all became this. The gamma in my veins isn't just power, it's destruction. I'm not Deku anymore. I'm not the kid who cried. I am the World Breaker, the Incredible Hulk, and this is how I smash everyone.
Welcome, Legends, to Chronos Recom. I wrote this story myself, so if you have any suggestions or what-ifs you want to see, drop it in the comments below. Also, just wanted to let you know I've got a Patreon set up now for anyone who wants to support the channel directly. You can get early access to stories, submit direct fan requests, and get exclusive content. It's totally optional, but if you want to help keep these stories coming, check it out. Links in the description. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Let's dive into this story.
The plane touched down at Mustafa International Airport just as the sun began its descent behind the cityscape. Izuku Midoriya stood at the terminal window, watching the familiar skyline with eyes that had seen too much, changed too much, to ever view this place the same way again. His reflection in the glass showed a young man of 16, broader in the shoulders than he'd been when he left, his green hair slightly longer, his expression carrying a weight that didn't belong on someone his age. 18 months. That's how long he'd been gone. 18 months since the explosion that killed the old Izuku Midoriya and birthed something the world had never seen before. His phone buzzed. A message from Melissa Shield appeared on the screen, accompanied by a photo of her making a silly face in her lab at Eye Island. Safe travels, Hulk Boy. Remember what we practiced. Deep breaths. You've got this. Despite everything, Izuku smiled. Melissa had stood between him and All Might when he was nothing but rage and destruction. She'd looked into the eyes of a monster and seen him. Even now, thousands of miles away, she was his anchor. He typed back, "Landing now. I'll call you tonight." The walk through customs was surreal. People bustled around him, entirely unaware that the quiet young man in the simple green hoodie could level this entire airport with a tantrum. Izuku kept his breathing steady, maintaining the mental exercises that kept him centered. The Hulk wasn't separate from him anymore. They were one being, one consciousness. But that unity required constant awareness, a harmony between human intellect and primal power that he'd fought for months to achieve. His mother was waiting outside baggage claim. Inko Midoriya had aged in his absence. New lines creased her face, and her green hair showed streaks of gray that definitely hadn't been there before. But when she saw him, her entire face transformed with joy and relief. "Izuku!" He caught her as she rushed forward, careful with his strength even in human form. The Hulk's power was always there, just beneath his skin, requiring him to consciously calibrate every touch, every movement. Too hard, and he could hurt her. He'd broken 3 doors and countless pieces of furniture learning that lesson. "Mom?" he said softly, and for a moment he was just a boy reunited with his mother. She pulled back, hands on his face, examining him like she was checking for injuries. "You look so different, stronger. Are you eating enough? David Shield said you were doing well, but I needed to see for myself." "I'm okay, Mom. Better than okay." It was true. For the first time since that catastrophic day, Izuku felt like himself, more than himself. "I'm in control now." Her eyes glistened with tears. "I know, baby. I know. Let's go home." The apartment was exactly as he remembered. Small, warm, filled with All Might memorabilia that now carried complicated emotions. Izuku set his bag down in his old room, taking in the hero posters, the analysis notebooks stacked on his desk, the remnants of a quirkless boy who dreamed of being a hero. That boy had died in a gamma explosion. What emerged was something far more dangerous. Over dinner, Inko couldn't stop glancing at him as if afraid he might disappear again. Izuku ate carefully, his appetite substantially larger than before but manageable in human form. When transformed, his metabolism became nearly infinite, requiring massive amounts of sustenance. Another thing he'd learned to manage. "David Shield called me last week," Inko said, pushing food around her plate. "He said you've been accepted to UA High School." That Principal Nezu specifically requested you after reviewing your case. Izuku nodded. The UA entrance exam is in 2 weeks. I need to pass it properly, show that I can function in hero society. He met his mother's worried gaze. I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, I could lose control, but I won't. I've worked too hard to master this. It's not just about control, Izuku. Those villain attacks, that League of Villains everyone's talking about. If you're recognized, if they know what you can do, then they'll learn to fear me, Izuku said quietly, and for just a moment, his eyes flashed with an inner green luminescence. Mom, I'm not the same person who left. I can't go back to being powerless, to being nothing. This thing inside me, this power, it's part of me now, and I'm going to use it to protect people, to be the hero I always wanted to be. Inko reached across the table, taking his hand. Her touch was small, fragile against his. Just promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't forget who you are beneath all that power. I promise. That night, alone in his room, Izuku stood before his mirror and took a breath. Control was a choice he made every second. He focused inward, finding that place where his consciousness touched the vast primal power that resided in his cells. The transformation was instantaneous. His body expanded, muscles erupting from his frame as he grew to 8 feet of pure green-skinned power. The Hulk stared back at him from the mirror, and Izuku stared back with complete clarity. This wasn't a monster. This was him. He transformed back just as quickly, his body condensing to its human form. Perfect control. He'd practiced this thousands of times with Melissa, learning to shift between states as easily as breathing. The Hulk wasn't something he became. It was something he was. His phone rang. Melissa's face appeared on the video call, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, safety goggles pushed up on her forehead. Couldn't wait until tonight? Izuku asked, smiling. I got excited. How did it go with your mom? Good. Emotional. She's worried. Of course she is. You're about to walk into a hero school while being a literal weapon of mass destruction. Melissa's expression softened. But you're ready for this, Izuku. We've prepared for every scenario. They'd done more than prepare. During his time at Island, Melissa had helped him understand his transformation on a scientific level. The gamma radiation had fundamentally altered his cellular structure, creating a form of energy that responded to his emotional state. Anger was the catalyst, yes, but emotion itself was the fuel. Joy, determination, love, all of it fed into his power. Learning to harness that had been the key to control. I tested the transformation tonight, Izuku said. Full shift, instant return, no hesitation. How did it feel? Natural, like it's supposed to be this way. He paused. Melissa, when I'm at UA, I won't be able to talk to you as much. I know, but I'll still be here. Always. Her smile was radiant, even through the screen. Go show them what a quirkless genius can do with a little gamma radiation. After they said goodnight, Izuku lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, he would register for the UA entrance exam. In 2 weeks, he would step into that testing ground and show the world that heroes weren't born from quirks alone. They could be forged in fire and radiation and willpower. He closed his eyes, feeling the steady pulse of power in his veins, and smiled. The game was about to begin. The morning of the UA entrance exam arrived with clear skies and nervous energy that permeated the entire testing facility. Thousands of applicants gathered outside the massive gates of UA High School, the most prestigious hero academy in Japan. Izuku stood among them, his green hoodie pulled up, hands in his pockets, exuding a calm that contrasted sharply with the anxious chatter around him. He'd already spotted several notable faces in the crowd. A tall boy with engines in his calves who was lecturing someone about proper conduct. A girl with pink skin and horns who was bouncing excitedly. A nervous-looking brunette who kept glancing at the gates with determination. But Izuku's focus was internal. He was running through his mental exercises, maintaining the equilibrium between his human consciousness and the vast power that waited just beneath his skin. The Hulk was patient now, no longer a separate entity fighting for control. They were unified, two aspects of the same being. A loud voice crackled over the speakers, directing all examinees to proceed to the orientation hall. Izuku moved with the crowd, his enhanced senses picking up everything. Heartbeats racing with nerves, the smell of anxiety sweat, the trembling of quirks barely restrained. These were children playing at being heroes, most of them relying on genetic accidents to carry them through. Izuku had earned his power through sacrifice and scientific brilliance. The orientation hall was massive, filled with rows of seats facing a stage where the voice hero, Present Mike, stood at a podium with his signature enthusiasm. Welcome, listeners, to today's live performance. Present Mike's voice boomed through the speakers, causing several examinees to flinch. Everybody say, hey! Silence greeted him. That's cool. That's cool. We'll start with the basics. Today's battle trial is a 10-minute mock urban battle. After this, you'll head to your assigned testing location. Check your applications for your number. Izuku. Battle Center A. Present Mike continued, explaining the point system. 3 types of foe villains, each worth different points. The goal was to immobilize them and rack up points. Standard stuff designed to test combat ability, quirk application, and quick thinking. One more thing, Present Mike added. There's a 4th type of villain worth 0 points. Think of it as an obstacle. Better to avoid it. A hand shot up in the audience. The boy with the engines stood, his posture rigid. Excuse me, but the handout clearly lists 4 types of villains, yet you've only explained 3. If this is an error on UA's official materials, it is unbecoming of Japan's top academy. Additionally, he turned, pointing directly at Izuku, that examinee has been muttering throughout your entire presentation. His distraction is disruptive to those of us taking this seriously. All eyes turned to Izuku, who hadn't realized he'd been vocalizing his analysis. Old habits. He met the boy's intense stare with calm indifference. Sorry, I'll be quiet. Present Mike laughed. No worries, listener. As for the 0-pointer, it's just an obstacle. A gimmick that'll show up in each battle center. Now, everybody get ready to rumble. The examinees dispersed to their assigned battle centers. Izuku found himself in Battle Center A, surrounded by candidates he didn't recognize. Good. No distractions from people he might know. The massive gates of the mock city loomed before them, sealed shut. Beyond them, Izuku could hear the mechanical whirring of the foe villains powering up. His enhanced senses painted a picture of the battlefield before he'd even entered. Building layouts, enemy positions, optimal paths of destruction. Begin! Present Mike's voice echoed from speakers hidden in the walls. For a moment, no one moved. Then, reality hit, and the examinees surged forward in a chaotic rush, quirks activating in flashes of light and power. Izuku walked. While others sprinted past him, desperate to rack up points, Izuku maintained a steady pace, his mind already calculating. The test wasn't about speed or brute force alone. It was about efficiency, rescue capability, and how one handled pressure. The 0-pointer was the real test. He'd figured that out immediately, a massive obstacle that would create a crisis situation. That's when UA would be watching most carefully. He rounded a corner and found his first target, a 2-pointer, a mechanical villain with extending arms and a reinforced chassis. Several examinees were already converging on it, quirks firing in an uncoordinated mess. Izuku's eyes flashed green. He didn't transform. Instead, he channeled a fraction of the Hulk's strength into his human body, a technique he'd mastered over months of practice. His muscles condensed with gamma-enhanced power as he launched forward at superhuman speed. The examinees saw a blur. Izuku's fist connected with the 2-pointer's center mass, and the robot exploded backward, metal shrieking as it crumpled against a building wall. Sparks flew. The machine twitched once, then went dark. 2 points. The nearby examinees stared, some with their mouths open. What kind of quirk was that? Someone whispered. Izuku was already gone, moving deeper into the mock city. He found a 3-pointer next. This one engaged with a girl who was using some kind of creation quirk to build a cannon. Impressive, but slow. He didn't even slow down. Izuku leaped, a casual jump that carried him 30 feet into the air. The 3-pointer's sensors tracked his movement, but its response time was pathetic. Izuku came down with a hammer fist, channeling more of the Hulk's power into the strike. The impact created a small crater. The 3-pointer collapsed into a pile of scrap metal, its structural integrity completely annihilated. 5 points total. Holy crap! The girl with the creation quirk shouted. That was incredible. What's your name? Izuku didn't answer. He was analyzing the sounds of battle throughout the testing ground, calculating optimal paths. The Hulk's senses painted a complete tactical picture. Every examinee every robot, every potential threat. He moved like a force of nature through Battle Center A. A one-pointer trying to corner a nervous boy with a tail? Izuku's kick sent it flying into a wall hard enough to embed it in concrete. A two-pointer blocking an alleyway? Izuku grabbed it by the arm and used it as a battering ram against another robot coming from the opposite direction. His points climbed steadily, not through frantic rushing, but through calculated efficiency. Every movement was precise. Every strike was measured. He was barely using a tenth of his real strength, just enough to dominate the mechanical opponents without revealing the true extent of his power. Other examinees started to notice. Whispers spread through the battle center about the green-haired boy who moved with impossible strength and precision, destroying robots with casual strikes that seemed to defy physics. Izuku had just demolished his 8th robot when he felt it, a tremor that made the buildings shake. The ground vibrated with approaching weight. Other examinees stopped their fights, looking around in confusion and growing fear. Then it appeared around the corner. The zero-pointer was massive, easily 50 feet tall, a mechanical monstrosity designed to inspire terror. Its glowing red eyes swept across the street as it advanced, each step creating small earthquakes. The design was meant to make students flee, to test their ability to recognize unwinnable fights. Examinees scattered in panic, abandoning their hunts for points in favor of survival. The smart move, the expected move. Izuku stood his ground, studying the machine with analytical interest. This was the crisis point. This was when UA would be watching most carefully, looking for students who would prioritize others over themselves. His enhanced hearing caught it, a cry of pain, a sob of fear. Beneath the zero-pointer's shadow, a girl had fallen, her ankle twisted at an awkward angle. The brunette he'd noticed earlier, the one who'd been so determined. She was trying to crawl away, but the massive robot was advancing, oblivious to her presence. Other examinees ran past her. Some glanced back but kept running. The logical choice, she was about to be crushed, and staying meant failing the exam. Izuku's eyes blazed with green light. "Time to make an impression," he murmured. The transformation was instantaneous and terrifying. His body erupted with muscle, bones expanding, skin shifting to a deep emerald green. In seconds, Izuku Midoriya was gone, replaced by 8 feet of pure destructive power. His clothes, designed by Melissa with unstable molecules based on her father's research, stretched to accommodate his new form. The Hulk had entered the battle. His first step created a crack in the asphalt that spider-webbed outward. His second step generated a localized tremor that rattled windows. By his third step, everyone in Battle Center A was staring at the massive green figure charging toward the zero-pointer. In the observation room, every pro-hero teacher's attention snapped to screen A. "What the hell is that?" someone whispered. Principal Nezu leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with intense interest. "That, my friends, is Izuku Midoriya, the boy who survived gamma radiation exposure and became something unprecedented." All Might, in his skeletal form, gripped the edge of his chair. He'd been there. He'd fought this creature before. But seeing it again, seeing young Midoriya in full transformation, brought back memories of their devastating battle on Eye Island. "He's here," All Might breathed. "The Hulk has come to UA." On screen, they hovered the distance to the zero-pointer in seconds. The mechanical giant detected the new threat and attempted to bring its massive fist down on him. The Hulk caught it. Metal shrieked. Hydraulics whined. The zero-pointer's entire weight pressed down, but the Hulk held firm. His feet planted, muscles rippling with impossible strength. He looked up at the machine's red eyes, and his expression was one of complete confidence. Then he smiled. With a roar that shattered windows across the entire battle center, the Hulk twisted his body and hurled the 50-foot robot. The zero-pointer flew through the air like a toy, spinning end over end before crashing into an empty building 3 blocks away. The impact was catastrophic. Metal screaming, concrete exploding, the entire structure collapsing on the mechanical giant. The silence that followed was absolute. Every examinee in Battle Center A stood frozen, unable to process what they'd just witnessed. The zero-pointer, the unstoppable obstacle, had been thrown like garbage by the green giant who now stood in the middle of the street, breathing steadily, completely calm. The Hulk turned to where the brunette girl lay, still staring in shock. He approached, and she flinched, but something in his eyes, green and intense but distinctly aware, stopped her panic. He knelt down, and when he spoke, his voice was deep and rumbling but unmistakably intelligent. "You okay?" She nodded mutely. The Hulk gently lifted her, cradling her in arms that could crush steel, and carried her away from the destruction with surprising tenderness. He set her down near a group of other examinees, then straightened to his full height. "Time's almost up," he said, his voice carrying across the entire battle center. "Better get your points." Then, in another flash of green light, the Hulk compressed back into Izuku Midoriya. The transformation reversed as quickly as it had come, leaving a normal-looking teenage boy standing where a monster had been seconds before. Izuku adjusted his hoodie and walked calmly toward the exit gates as President Mike's voice announced the end of the exam. Behind him, chaos erupted. Examinees were shouting, pointing, demanding to know what they'd just seen. Some claimed it was the most powerful transformation quirk ever witnessed. Others insisted it had to be some kind of gigantification combined with strength enhancement. None of them knew the truth. In the observation room, the pro-heroes were equally stunned. "That was," Midnight began, searching for words, "incredible." "Terrifying," Snipe corrected. Principal Nezu said, his paws pressed together. "That was both. Tell me, All Might, you've encountered young Midoriya before. What's your assessment?" All Might's skeletal form trembled slightly, remembering the battle on Eye Island, remembering how his strongest punches had only made the creature angrier, how he'd nearly died before Melissa Shield intervened. "He's dangerous," All Might said quietly. "Maybe the most dangerous individual on the planet, but he's also disciplined. That transformation, the control he showed, that's not the same creature I fought 18 months ago." "He threw a 50-foot robot 3 city blocks," Cementos said, awe in his voice. "The structural damage alone will be covered by UA's budget," Principal Nezu interrupted cheerfully, "and worth every yen. Gentlemen, ladies, what we just witnessed was the future of heroics. Young Midoriya has done something impossible. He's taken a condition that should make him a villain and mastered it completely. That kind of willpower, that kind of mind, combined with that level of power?" The principal's eyes gleamed. "That's what a symbol of peace looks like in the next generation." "Or the world's greatest threat," Eraserhead muttered from the back of the room. "What happens if he loses control in a populated area? What happens if that rage gets directed at civilians?" "Then we'll deal with it," Principal Nezu said simply. "But I don't believe we'll have to. Young Midoriya is here because he wants to be a hero, and I intend to help him become the best hero he can be." On screen, Izuku was exiting Battle Center A, completely calm, as if he hadn't just redefined what was possible in hero society. Recovery Girl shook her head, a small smile on her face. "That boy is going to make my job very interesting." 1 week later, Izuku received his acceptance letter. The holographic message from All Might appeared above the device, the symbol of peace grinning his famous smile. "Young Midoriya, you've passed the exam with flying colors. Your combat score was the highest in UA history, 77 villain points. But that's not all. We also award rescue points for those who show true heroic spirit in times of crisis. The girl you saved, Ochako Uraraka, asked our judges to recognize your selflessness. You earned an additional 60 rescue points for a total of 137 points. Welcome, Izuku Midoriya, to your Hero Academia." Inko cried. Izuku held her while she sobbed with relief and pride. That night, Melissa's video call was full of celebration. She'd set off confetti in her lab, and the colored paper was still falling around her when her face appeared on screen. "I knew you'd do it," she shouted, bouncing in her chair. 137 points! That's insane! You're insane! We're both insane!" Izuku laughed, the sound genuine and warm. "We did it, Melissa. Everything we worked for, all those months of training and practice, it worked." Her expression softened. "No, Izuku, you did it. I just helped you realize what you were capable of. This power, this control, that's all you." "It's us," Izuku insisted. "Always us. I wouldn't be here without you." They talked for hours, sharing stories, making plans. Melissa was working on new support gear that could withstand his transformations. Izuku described the other examinees he'd noticed, the potential classmates who would be starting at UA alongside him. When they finally said goodnight, Izuku felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. hope. Real, genuine hope that his life could be more than just controlling a mon. He could be a hero. He could make a difference. The Hulk stirred in his consciousness a presence that was both separate and intrinsically him. It didn't speak in words, but Izuku felt its satisfaction, its approval. They were unified in purpose now, to protect, to defend, to be the shield between the innocent and those who would harm them. Even if that shield was green, 8 feet tall, and capable of leveling cities. Izuku's first day at UA High School began with a realization. He was underdressed. While other students showed up in pristine uniforms, looking nervous and excited, Izuku had chosen comfortable cargo pants and a compression shirt under a jacket. The uniform felt too restrictive, too much like a costume he wasn't ready to wear. Principal Nezu had approved his request for modified dress code, understanding that Izuku's quirk required clothing flexibility. Class 1A's room was easy to find. Izuku paused outside the massive door, hearing the voices within. His enhanced senses picked up at least 15 distinct heartbeats, various conversations overlapping, the nervous energy of teenagers about to start their hero journey. He pushed the door open. The conversations didn't stop immediately, but several heads turned. Izuku recognized a few faces from the entrance exam. The boy with the engines, now identified by his nameplate as Tenya Ida. The brunette he'd saved, Ochako Uraraka, a boy with spiky blonde hair who was currently standing with his feet on a desk while Ida lectured him. "That's him," someone whispered. "The one who threw the zero-pointer." "I heard he got the highest score in UA history," another voice added. Izuku ignored the stares and found an empty seat near the back. He preferred to observe, to analyze, to understand his classmates before engaging. Old habits from his quirkless days, when understanding your enemy was the only advantage you had. The blonde boy, Katsuki Bakugo, according to the desk plate, was glaring at him with unconcealed hostility. Izuku met his gaze evenly, reading the anger and competition in those red eyes. A rival, perhaps. Someone with talent and ego in equal measure. "You," Bakugo snarled, pointing. "Entrance exam. That transformation. What the hell kind of quirk is that?" Before Izuku could answer, the door slid open again and a disheveled man in a sleeping bag rolled into the room. The entire class fell silent as the man stood, revealed himself to be their teacher, and fixed them all with a tired, unimpressed stare. "It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down. Time is precious. Rational students would understand that." Izuku recognized him immediately. Eraserhead, the underground hero whose quirk could nullify others' abilities. Interesting choice for their homeroom teacher. "I'm Shota Aizawa, your teacher. Put these on and meet me outside." He pulled out gym uniforms from his sleeping bag. "We're doing a quirk assessment test." The class erupted in protests and questions, but Aizawa's glare silenced them quickly. Within minutes, they were changed and assembled on the training field behind the school building. "UA is known for its freestyle education system," Aizawa explained, holding up a softball. "That applies to us teachers, too. You, blonde kid, Bakugo, right? In middle school, what was your best softball throw?" 67 meters, Bakugo answered confidently. "Good. Now try it with your quirk. Do whatever you want. Just stay in the circle." Bakugo grinned, stepping into the marked circle with the arrogance of someone who'd never truly been challenged. "Die!" he screamed, using his explosion quirk to launch the ball. 705 meters. The class erupted in excitement, chattering about how fun this would be, how cool their quirks were. Aizawa's expression darkened. "Fun? You think this is fun? For 3 years, you'll be training to become heroes. UA's reputation is built on freedom, but that freedom means freedom to push you beyond your limits. Someone who mistakes that for play won't last long here." His eyes swept across them. The student who ranks last in total scores will be judged hopeless and expelled immediately. The excitement died instantly. "Now then," Aizawa continued, "we're doing 8 physical tests. Whoever comes in last across all categories is gone. Welcome to UA's hero course." The tests began: 50-meter dash, grip strength, standing long jump, repeated side steps, ball throw, distance running, sit-ups, and seated toe touch. Izuku watched his classmates showcase their abilities. A boy with a tail, Mashiro Ojiro, used it for balance and power. A girl with frog-like features, Chuyu Asui, excelled at jumping. Bakugo dominated with explosive power. Tenya Ida's engine quirk made him a speed demon. But Izuku had a problem. His power, the Hulk, responded to emotion. To truly showcase his abilities, he'd need to transform, and transforming for something as mundane as a fitness test felt like using a nuclear weapon to swat a fly. But ranking last meant expulsion, and he hadn't come this far to fail on day one. He approached each test methodically, using carefully controlled amounts of gamma-enhanced strength in his human form. Not enough to truly dominate, but enough to place respectably. 50-meter dash, 3.2 seconds, channeling just enough enhanced speed to blur. Grip strength, 540 kilograms, letting a fraction of the Hulk's power flow through his hands. Standing long jump cleared the entire sandbox, an effortless leap that made several classmates stare. Through it all, Aizawa watched him with narrowed eyes. The teacher's quirk erasure was active periodically, and Izuku felt it trying to latch onto him. But the Hulk wasn't a quirk, it was a fundamental alteration of his biology, gamma radiation integrated into his cellular structure. Erasure couldn't affect it any more than it could erase someone's natural strength. The confusion in Aizawa's eyes was evident. The ball throw came last. One by one, students took their turns. Uraraka used her zero-gravity quirk to send the ball into infinity. Bakugo repeated his 700-meter throw. Others showcased various ranges of ability. Then it was Izuku's turn. He stood in the circle, ball in hand, aware that every eye was on him. The whispers had started again. That's the one who threw the zero-pointer. I heard he's some kind of transformation type. Maybe strength enhancement? Izuku closed his eyes and took a breath. Control. Always control. He didn't need to transform fully, just enough to make a point. His eyes snapped open, glowing bright green. The transformation was partial. His body expanded slightly, muscles bulging with contained power, his skin taking on a faint greenish tint. Not the full Hulk, but a middle state, something between human and unstoppable force. He reared back and threw. The ball didn't just fly, it broke the sound barrier, creating a sonic boom that rattled the school windows. It disappeared into the distance as a streak of green light, traveling so fast that the electronic tracker's numbers became a blur before finally settling. 12,347 meters. Silence. Absolute, complete silence. Even Aizawa looked stunned, his capture weapon hanging limply from his neck. Izuku let the transformation fade, returning to his human form as casually as someone removing a jacket. He walked back to the group, ignoring the stares, the dropped jaws, the whispered exclamations of disbelief. What the hell was that? Bakugo shouted, his face twisted with anger and shock. That's not a normal quirk. That's incredible, Uraraka breathed, her eyes wide. Aizawa held up a hand, silencing the chaos. Midoriya, my office after class. He turned back to the rest of the students, his expression back to its usual, tired indifference. The rest of you, final results are posted on this screen. Izuku placed first overall, unsurprisingly. His partial transformation hadn't been necessary for most tests, but the ball throw alone had cemented his position at the top. Bakugo placed second, and the explosive boy looked ready to commit murder. The student who placed last was a short boy with purple balls for hair, Minoru Mineta, who Aizawa promptly revealed wouldn't actually be expelled. It was a logical ruse to push you to your limits, the teacher explained. But the threat was real. Never forget that. As the class dispersed, Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find Uraraka, her expression a mix of gratitude and curiosity. Hey, I never got to thank you properly. For the entrance exam, you saved me. Izuku offered a small smile. You would have done the same for someone else. That's what heroes do. Still, I owe you one. And that throw just now? That was amazing. Your quirk must be really powerful. It's not a quirk, Izuku said quietly. It's something else, something complicated. Before she could ask more questions, Aizawa's voice cut through the field. Midoriya. Now. Izuku followed his teacher back into the school building, through hallways that were emptying as students headed home. Aizawa's office was sparse, practical, filled with sleeping bags and hero gear, but little personal decoration. The teacher gestured for Izuku to sit, then leaned against his desk, arms crossed. Explain, Aizawa said simply. Explain what? Don't play dumb. My quirk, erasure, nullifies quirks through eye contact. I tried it on you multiple times during those tests. Nothing happened. Your power didn't fade, didn't diminish, didn't even flicker. So either you're the first person in history to be immune to erasure, or what you have isn't a quirk. His dark eyes narrowed. Which is it? Izuku met his gaze steadily. The second one. What I have isn't a quirk. It's a mutation caused by gamma radiation exposure during a scientific experiment. My cellular structure was fundamentally altered. The transformation, the strength, it's not a quirk factor in my genetics. It's something else entirely. Aizawa was silent for a long moment, processing. The Island incident, 18 months ago. The explosion that put All Might in the hospital for 2 weeks and destroyed an entire research facility. That was you. Yes. And this transformation, this power, can you control it? Completely, Izuku answered. I spent a year training with the scientists who caused the accident, learning to understand and master my condition. I can transform at will, maintain consciousness and intelligence while transformed, and revert when necessary. The anger that triggers it is just one emotional pathway. I've learned to use determination, focus, even joy as catalysts instead. Show me, Aizawa demanded. Full transformation. I want to see what we're working with. Izuku stood, moving to the center of the room where he'd have space. You might want to step back. Aizawa didn't move. The transformation was instant. One moment, Izuku Midoriya stood in the office. The next, the Hulk filled the space. 8 feet of emerald muscle, radiating power that made the air itself feel heavier. His eyes glowed with inner light, but his expression was calm, aware, completely in control. I am Izuku Midoriya, the Hulk said, his voice deep and rumbling. Same mind, same person, just different form. Aizawa stared, and for the first time since class started, genuine emotion crossed his face. Not fear exactly, but profound wariness. This wasn't a student with a powerful quirk. This was something that could tear through UA's defenses like wet paper if it chose to. Transform back, Aizawa said quietly. Izuku did, the shift as smooth as the first. He stood before his teacher, human again, breathing normally. That power, Aizawa began, is beyond anything I've seen in 20 years of hero work. You could kill everyone in this school without breaking a sweat. You could level cities. You're a walking catastrophe if you lose control. I know, Izuku said simply. That's why I spent a year learning not to. And if you slip, if someone pushes the wrong button, says the wrong thing, threatens the wrong person, Izuku's eyes hardened, then they'll learn why that was a mistake. But I won't hurt innocents, Aizawa-sensei. That's a promise I made to myself, to the people who helped me, and to everyone I want to protect. This power is mine to control, and I will control it. Aizawa studied him for another long moment, then sighed. Principal Nezu briefed me on your situation before school started. He wanted you in my class specifically because my teaching style focuses on practical application and recognizing limits. But you don't have limits, do you? Not in the traditional sense. Everyone has limits, Izuku replied. Mine are just different. I need more food than normal students. My emotional state requires constant monitoring. Meditation is necessary to maintain balance, and I can't afford to transform fully in every situation. The property damage alone would be catastrophic. A slight smile tugged at Aizawa's lips. At least you're thinking about collateral damage. That puts you ahead of most first years. He moved back to his desk, pulling out a file. Here's the reality, Midoriya. You're going to face challenges that have nothing to do with your power. Society, the Hero Public Safety Commission, villains, other heroes, they're all going to have opinions about what you are. Some will want to use you. Others will fear you. A few will try to eliminate you as a threat. I'm ready for that. Are you ready for your classmates to fear you? For people you want to protect to see you as a monster? Izuku thought of Melissa, who'd looked into the Hulk's eyes and seen him, who'd stood between him and All Might when he was nothing but rage, who still called him late at night when she knew he needed to hear a friendly voice. I've already been through that, Izuku said quietly. And I survived it. I'll survive this too. Aizawa nodded slowly. Good, because starting tomorrow, I'm going to push you harder than anyone else in this class. Your power is extraordinary. But power without purpose, without discipline, without understanding its place in society, that's just destruction waiting to happen. I'm going to teach you to be a hero, not just a weapon. That's all I want, Izuku said. To be a hero, to protect people, to prove that even someone like me can be trusted. Then we're on the same page. Aizawa stood, indicating the meeting was over. Get some rest. Tomorrow, real hero training begins. Izuku left the office, mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. As he exited UA's gates, his phone buzzed. A message from Melissa. "How was day one?" He smiled, typing back, "Complicated, but I think I'm exactly where I need to be." The days that followed fell into a rhythm. Classes in the morning covering hero law, rescue techniques, quirk theory. Physical training in the afternoon under Aizawa's watchful eye. Evenings spent studying or talking with Melissa, who provided not just emotional support but scientific insights into his condition. His classmates were a mixed bag of reactions. Some, like Uraraka and Ida, approached him with friendly curiosity. Others, like Bakugo, viewed him as a rival to overcome. A few, particularly those who'd seen his full strength during the assessment test, kept a wary distance. Izuku didn't push. He participated in class activities, contributed to group discussions, and demonstrated his abilities when required. But he was careful, always careful, to maintain the balance between showing competence and revealing his true, terrifying potential. Then came the day that changed everything. Combat training with All Might. The symbol of peace stood before Class 1A in all his glory, muscles bulging, smile radiant, presence commanding absolute attention. Izuku felt a complex mixture of emotions seeing him. Gratitude for the man's initial attempts to help, residual anger from their battle on Eye Island, respect for what he represented. "Students!" All Might's voice boomed across the training field. "Today you'll be participating in indoor combat training. You'll be split into villain and hero teams, fighting 2-on-2 battles in urban environments." The class buzzed with excitement. Costumes were distributed. Hero outfits designed by support companies based on students' specifications. Izuku's was simple. Reinforced cargo pants in dark green, a sleeveless compression top, and boots designed for durability. Melissa had helped design it, using materials that could withstand his transformations without shredding. Teams were assigned randomly. Izuku found himself paired with Uraraka as heroes, facing Bakugo and Tenya Ida as villains. The moment Bakugo saw the team assignments, his expression twisted into something feral. "Finally," he hissed, "I get to see what you're really made of." All Might explained the rules. Villains guard a weapon, heroes try to capture it, or the villains within 15 minutes. Simple scenario, complex execution. Izuku and Uraraka stood outside the designated building, a multi-story structure designed to simulate urban combat. Inside, Bakugo and Ida waited with their fake weapon. "So," Uraraka said nervously, "what's the plan? You're super strong, so maybe you could just, punch through the walls?" Izuku shook his head. "That's not hero work. That's destruction. We need to approach this tactically." He closed his eyes, extending his enhanced senses. Through the building's structure, that he could hear 2 heartbeats, one on the 3rd floor, rapid and aggressive. Bakugo. The other on the 4th floor, steady and focused. Ida. "They split up," Izuku said. "Bakugo's gonna come for me. He's competitive, angry, and he wants to prove something. Ida will guard the weapon. If we can get past Bakugo quickly, we can capture the objective before he recovers. And how do we get past someone with explosion powers?" Izuku's eyes glowed faintly green. "Leave that to me." All Might's voice crackled through their earpieces. "Begin!" They entered the building cautiously. Izuku took point, his senses painting a complete picture of the environment. Uraraka stayed close behind, her quirk ready to reduce their weight if needed. They made it to the 2nd floor before Bakugo struck. The explosion came from above, blasting through the ceiling in a shower of debris and fire. Bakugo descended like an avenging angel, hands crackling with volatile energy, face twisted in manic determination. "Midoriya!" he screamed, launching a point-blank explosion. Izuku didn't dodge. Instead, he brought his arms up, crossed defensively, and let his body absorb the transformation trigger. The explosion hit, and the Hulk emerged from the smoke completely unharmed. "That tickled," the Hulk rumbled, his voice carrying amusement. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock, then rage. "You think you're better than me? I'll kill you!" "No," the Hulk said calmly, "you won't." What followed was less a fight and more a demonstration. Bakugo attacked with everything he had, explosions from every angle, aerial maneuvers, combination attacks that would have devastated most opponents. Each blast was powerful enough to level walls, to crater concrete, to seriously injure. The Hulk tanked every hit without flinching. When Bakugo went for a particularly large explosion, putting all his power into one devastating blast, the Hulk simply clapped his hands together. The thunderclap shockwave was catastrophic. Air compressed and exploded outward in a directed sonic boom that caught Bakugo mid-flight and sent him rocketing backward. He crashed through 2 walls before coming to a stop, groaning but conscious. "Stay down," the Hulk advised, already transforming back to Izuku. "Uraraka, go for the weapon. I'll keep him busy if he gets up." But Bakugo, stubborn and prideful, forced himself to stand. Blood trickled from his lip, his costume was torn, and his hands were trembling from overuse, but his eyes still burned with defiance. "I'm not done," he snarled. Not even close. Izuku felt something unexpected. Respect. This was someone who wouldn't quit, who'd push beyond rational limits for victory. It was admirable, even if misguided. "Then come on," Izuku said quietly, settling into a ready stance without transforming. "Show me what you've got." In the observation room, All Might watched the screens with mounting concern. Young Bakugo was talented, yes, but he was also reckless, driven by ego and anger, and young Midoriya, the Hulk, was holding back substantially. "Should we stop this?" Midnight asked. "Not yet," All Might said, though his hand hovered near the communication device. "Young Midoriya is in complete control, and young Bakugo needs to learn that raw power isn't everything." On screen, Bakugo launched himself forward with another explosion, fist drawn back for a devastating punch. Izuku waited until the last possible second, then sidestepped with enhanced speed, letting Bakugo's momentum carry him past. The explosive boy tried to correct, spinning midair for another attack, but Izuku was faster. A precise palm strike to Bakugo's wrist redirected his explosion into empty air. A sweep of the leg disrupted his balance. A controlled push sent him stumbling backward. It was combat efficiency at its finest. No wasted movement, no excess force, just pure technical skill backed by superhuman capability. "You're strong," Izuku said as Bakugo struggled to his feet again. "Probably one of the strongest quirks in our class, but strength without control is just flailing." "Shut up!" Bakugo screamed, firing another salvo. Izuku dodged, his enhanced reflexes making the attack seem slow. "You're angry. I understand that. You've probably been the best your whole life, and now you're facing someone you can't beat. It's frustrating." "I said shut up!" "But being a hero isn't about being the strongest," Izuku continued, his voice calm even as he evaded explosive after explosive. "It's about protecting people, saving people, putting others before yourself." He caught Bakugo's wrist mid-punch, stopping the attack cold. "When will you learn that?" For a moment, something flickered in Bakugo's eyes, not understanding, but the first crack in his absolute certainty. Then it was gone, replaced by renewed fury. Before Bakugo could respond, Uraraka's voice came through the earpiece. "I got the weapon! We win." All Might's announcement confirmed it. Hero Team wins. Bakugo stood frozen, staring at Izuku with an expression that mixed rage, humiliation, and something that might have been grudging respect. Then he turned and stomped away without a word. After class, Izuku found himself on the receiving end of numerous questions from classmates eager to understand his quirk, his fighting style, his everything. He deflected most of them, keeping his answers vague, not ready to reveal the full truth of his condition. But that night, alone in his room, he reflected on the day's events. He'd used the Thunderclap, one of the Hulk's signature abilities. He'd demonstrated enhanced durability, strength, and combat skill. He'd shown his classmates a fraction of what he could do, and it had felt good. Not the violence, but the control. The knowledge that he could face someone's full power and emerge completely dominant without losing himself to rage. His phone rang. Melissa's face appeared, her expression concerned. "I saw the news," she said without preamble. UA released footage of today's combat training to hero agencies as part of some recruitment thing. "Izuku, you use the Thunderclap. People are going to start connecting dots." "I know," Izuku said, "but I can't hide what I am forever. If I'm going to be a hero, people need to see that I can control this power, that I'm not a threat." "You're never a threat to me," Melissa said softly. "You know that, right?" "I know. You're the one person who's never been afraid of me. That's because I see the real you, the brilliant, kind, determined person who just happens to be able to turn into a giant green rage monster." She smiled. "Although, watching you throw that Bakugo guy around was pretty satisfying. He seems like a jerk." Izuku laughed. "He's complicated, talented, but arrogant. He'll either become a great hero or a cautionary tale." They talked for another hour before saying goodnight. After she disconnected, Izuku sat in the darkness, feeling the Hulk's presence in his mind. It wasn't separate anymore, wasn't an entity to fight against. It was simply part of him, like his analytical mind or his determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More training, more tests, more opportunities to prove himself. But tonight, he was just Izuku Midoriya, a boy who'd survived the impossible and come out stronger. The storm was coming. He could feel it on the horizon, a sense that his peaceful days at UA wouldn't last long. But when it arrived, he'd be ready. The Hulk would be ready. And the villains of this world would learn what it meant to face unstoppable power guided by an unbreakable will. The attack on the USJ came without warning, as catastrophic events often do. Class 1A had been preparing for rescue training at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, a massive facility designed to simulate various disaster scenarios. The atmosphere was excited, students chattering about the possibilities, speculating about what challenges awaited them. Izuku felt the disturbance before seeing it. His enhanced senses picked up the spatial anomaly, a tearing in reality itself, followed by the familiar sensation of multiple hostile presences materializing where none had been before. His head snapped toward the central plaza just as a swirling black portal opened, disgorging dozens of figures. Villains. The League of Villains had come to UA. Stay together! 13, the rescue hero overseeing their training, shouted. But it was too late. The villain with the portal quirk, Kurogiri, according to the intelligence Izuku's enhanced hearing picked up from their conversations, was already moving. Scatter them, a voice said from the portal villain's misty form. We'll kill them separately. Black portals opened beneath Class 1A's feet. Izuku reacted instantly, grabbing Uraraka and Ida before the portals could take them, his enhanced strength allowing him to leap clear of the void. But others weren't so fortunate. Bakugo, Kirishima, Asui, and more disappeared into the warping darkness, transported to different disaster zones throughout the USJ. The villains in the central plaza began their advance, led by a figure that made Izuku's blood run cold. A massive creature, built like a nightmare given flesh. Exposed brain, powerful beak, eyes that held no intelligence, only programmed murder. Its body rippled with unnatural muscle, and the sheer presence it exuded screamed danger on a primal level. A Nomu, a bioengineered weapon designed to kill All Might. Behind the creature stood a man in a hand-covered face, scratching at his neck compulsively. Tomura Shigaraki, leader of this attack. Where is he? Shigaraki asked, his voice carrying childish petulance mixed with genuine threat. Where's All Might? We came all this way to kill him, and he's not even here. 13 tried to activate their quirk, but Kurogiri intercepted, his portal body providing perfect defense. The rescue hero was forced back, trying to protect the students who remained. Izuku's eyes began to glow. Uraraka, Ida, he said quietly, his voice taking on the deeper timbre that preceded transformation. Get to the entrance. Alert the school. Get real heroes here. But what about you? Uraraka asked, her face pale with fear. There are so many of them. I'll be fine. Izuku interrupted, and the certainty in his voice left no room for argument. Trust me, I can handle this. Ida, ever the rational one, grabbed Uraraka's arm. He's right. We need to get help. Midoriya, please be careful. Go! Izuku shouted, and the command carried such weight that both students ran without further hesitation. Kurogiri moved to intercept them, but Izuku was faster. The transformation was explosive. One moment, a teenage boy stood in the USJ entrance. The next, the Hulk erupted into being, growing to his full 8 feet of unstoppable power. His appearance was so sudden, so dramatic, that several villains actually stumbled backward. The Hulk's fist connected with Kurogiri's portal body before the villain could react. The impact was catastrophic. Despite being composed of warping mist, Kurogiri had a physical core, and the Hulk's punch found it. The portal villain was sent flying, crashing through the plaza and creating a crater upon impact. Silence fell across the USJ. Every villain, every hero student, every person present stared at the massive green figure that had appeared from nowhere. Shigaraki's scratching intensified. What? What is that? That, the Hulk rumbled, his voice carrying across the facility like rolling thunder, is your biggest mistake. The villains closest to him attacked first, a man with blade arms, another with a stretching quirk, a woman who could manipulate fire. Standard thugs empowered by genetics but lacking real training or discipline. The Hulk didn't even move from his spot. The blade-armed villain's weapons shattered against the Hulk's skin. The stretching villain found his extended limbs, grabbed and used to throw him into 3 other attackers. The fire manipulator's flames washed over the Hulk uselessly. Gamma radiation made him incredibly resistant to heat. "Is this it?" the Hulk asked, genuine disappointment in his voice. "Is this the League of Villains everyone's so worried about?" Shigaraki's scratching stopped. "Nomu, kill that thing." The bioengineered creature moved with terrifying speed, crossing the distance to the Hulk in seconds. Its fist, enhanced by whatever modifications had been done to its body, slammed into the Hulk's face with force that would have decapitated a normal person. The Hulk's head rocked back slightly. Then he smiled. Finally, someone who can actually hit. What followed was the kind of battle that would be analyzed by hero agencies for years. The Nomu was strong, absurdly strong, with regeneration that allowed it to recover from devastating injuries in seconds. It had been designed specifically to fight All Might, engineered to match the symbol of peace blow for blow. But the Hulk wasn't All Might. The Hulk's strength had no upper limit. Their first exchange of punches created shockwaves that shattered windows throughout the USJ. The Nomu's fist met the Hulk's, and for a moment they were evenly matched. Then the Hulk's eyes blazed brighter, his muscles swelled infinitesimally, and suddenly he was pushing the Nomu back. "Shock absorption and regeneration," the Hulk said. His analytical mind, Izuku's mind, working even during combat. "You're designed to take damage and heal from it. Interesting. Let's test those limits." The Hulk caught the Nomu's next punch, twisted the creature's arm, and delivered a devastating uppercut that sent the bioweapon flying upward. Before it could fall, the Hulk leaped, a jump that carried him hundreds of feet into the air, meeting the Nomu at the apex of its trajectory. He brought both fists down in a double hammer strike. The Nomu crashed into the plaza with such force that it created a crater 50 feet across. Concrete pulverized. Metal support beams bent. The shockwave knocked several villains off their feet. The Nomu emerged from the crater, already regenerating, and the Hulk landed opposite it with an impact that cracked the ground beneath his feet. "Impressive regeneration," the Hulk acknowledged. "But let's see how you handle this." He brought his hands together in a thunderclap. The directed sonic boom hit the Nomu like a physical wall, the compressed air creating a shockwave that pulverized everything in its path. The bioweapon was blasted backward, its shock absorption quirk struggling to disperse the overwhelming force. But it got back up. It always got back up. That was what it was designed to do. Shigaraki watched the battle with growing agitation, his scratching becoming frantic. "This isn't how it's supposed to go. The Nomu should be winning. It has to win. We need to kill All Might." "You're not killing anyone," a new voice interrupted. All Might stood at the USJ entrance, having arrived the moment Ida's message reached the school. His muscular form was imposing, his expression grave as he took in the scene, his students scattered, villains everywhere, and a battle between 2 titans occurring in the central plaza. "I am here," All Might announced, his presence immediately drawing every eye. Shigaraki's mood shifted instantly. "Finally, Father said you'd come if we threatened your students. Kurogiri, get up. We need to." The Hulk's foot came down. The ground pound was devastating. The sheer force of the Hulk's stomp created an earthquake that rippled through the entire USJ facility. Buildings swayed, water zones created tsunamis. The landslide zone actually experienced landslides. Every villain who'd been standing was knocked down. The Nomu, mid-charge toward All Might, stumbled. Even Shigaraki lost his footing. "This fight," the Hulk declared, his voice echoing through the chaos, "is between me and that thing. Everyone else stays down." All Might watched, torn between intervening and recognizing that young Midoriya, the Hulk, had this under control. The symbol of peace had fought this creature before, knew its power firsthand, and seeing it matched, even exceeded by his former student, was both reassuring and terrifying. The Nomu recovered from the earthquake and charged again, this time leading with multiple rapid-fire punches. The Hulk met each blow, their fists creating miniature sonic booms with every impact. The speed and power on display was beyond what most pro heroes could achieve. But something was changing. With each exchange, the Hulk was getting stronger. It was subtle at first, punches that landed with slightly more force, movements that were fractionally faster. But as the battle continued, as the Hulk's adrenaline built, as Izuku's determination to protect his classmates intensified, the gamma-enhanced power in his cells responded. The angrier the Hulk got, the stronger he became, and having something threaten his school, his teachers, his friends, that made him very angry. The Nomu landed a solid hit to the Hulk's ribs. Instead of being knocked back, the Hulk stood his ground, absorbed the impact, and retaliated with a punch that actually made the Nomu's shock absorption quirk fail. The creature was sent flying, crashing through the Fire Zone's buildings. "No upper limit," the Hulk said, advancing on the fallen Nomu. "That's the difference between us. You were made to fight All Might, but I was made to surpass everyone." He grabbed the Nomu by its head and began to squeeze. The creature's regeneration activated, trying to repair the crushing damage, but the Hulk's grip was relentless. He lifted the Nomu off the ground, holding it at arm's length as it flailed uselessly. "You're strong," the Hulk acknowledged, "but strength isn't everything." He hurled the Nomu skyward with such force that it became a rapidly disappearing speck. Then the Hulk crouched, gathering power in his legs, and leaped. The jump carried him higher than the USJ facility's ceiling, punching through the dome's reinforced glass as he pursued the Nomu into the open sky above. For a moment, both figures were silhouetted against the clouds. Then the Hulk brought the Nomu back down. The impact of their landing created a crater within the existing crater, a nested destruction that showcased the sheer kinetic force involved. The Nomu tried to rise one more time, its regeneration working overdrive, but the Hulk's fist came down on its exposed brain with precisely calculated force. Not enough to kill. Izuku still retained enough control to avoid lethal force, but enough to completely incapacitate. The Nomu went limp, unconscious, defeated. The Hulk stood over his fallen opponent, breathing steadily, completely in control despite the destruction surrounding him. He turned to face Shigaraki, who stood frozen with shock and growing fear. "Your weapon failed," the Hulk said, his voice carrying absolute certainty. "Want to try your luck personally?" Shigaraki's hand reached for his neck, scratching frantically. "This wasn't supposed to happen. The Nomu was supposed to be unstoppable. We were supposed to kill All Might. This is all wrong. This is..." "Kurogiri," the Hulk interrupted, his enhanced senses having tracked the portal villain's recovery. "If you're smart, you'll take your leader and leave, because if you stay, I'm going to start breaking things, and next time, I might not be so gentle." The threat was delivered calmly, but the weight behind it was undeniable. The Hulk had just defeated a bioweapon designed to kill the symbol of peace. What could he do to a villain who specialized in portals and mist? Kurogiri, still recovering from the earlier punch, made a rational decision. A portal opened behind Shigaraki. "We're leaving," the misty villain said. "This operation is compromised." "No," Shigaraki screamed, his composure completely shattered. "We can't just leave. We were supposed to." "We were supposed to survive," Kurogiri interrupted, pulling his leader toward the portal. "And if we stay, we won't." The remaining conscious villains, seeing their leaders retreat, made the wise choice to surrender or flee. Within minutes, the USJ was secure. Villains restrained by All Might and the arriving pro-heroes, students accounted for and mostly unharmed thanks to the Hulk's quick intervention. The Hulk stood in the central plaza, surrounded by destruction of his own making, and slowly let the transformation fade. He shrank back to Izuku Midoriya, his clothes torn but intact thanks to Melissa's design, his expression calm despite having just fought a battle that would have challenged most pro-heroes. All Might approached, his muscular form somehow less imposing next to the casual confidence Izuku projected. "Young Midoriya," the symbol of peace said carefully, "that was incredible and terrifying. You've grown stronger since Island." "I've grown more controlled," Izuku corrected. "The strength was always there. I just learned how to use it without destroying everything." "The Nomu is unconscious but alive. You pulled your punch at the end." "I'm not a killer," Izuku said firmly. "No matter how angry I get, no matter how powerful the Hulk is, I won't cross that line. That's what separates heroes from villains." All Might studied him for a long moment, then smiled, a genuine expression of pride and relief. "You truly have mastered it. The power that nearly killed us both. You've made it your own." Izuku looked around at his classmates who were emerging from their respective disaster zones. Bakugo looked grudgingly impressed. Uraraka was crying with relief. Ida was already making plans for improved security measures. They were all safe, all alive, because he'd been there to protect them. I made a promise, Izuku said quietly. To Melissa, to my mom, to myself. I'd use this power to protect people. Today was just the first real test. And you passed with flying colors, All Might said. He placed a hand on Izuku's shoulder, and for the first time, there was no wariness in the gesture. Welcome to the world of heroes, young Midoriya. Something tells me you're going to change everything. As paramedics arrived and police secured the area, Izuku pulled out his phone and sent a quick message to Melissa. Everyone's safe. I'll call you tonight. Love you. Her response was immediate. I knew you could do it, World Breaker. Izuku smiled, pocketing his phone. The nickname was private, something between him and Melissa, but it was accurate. When he was serious, when he truly let his power flow, his footsteps could break worlds. The League of Villains had learned that today, and soon everyone else would too. The sports festival was approaching, and with it, the eyes of the entire world would turn to UA's first-year students. They would see quirks of every variety, talents waiting to bloom, heroes in the making. But more than anything else, they would see him, the Hulk, and the hero world would never be the same. The aftermath of the USJ attack rippled through hero society like an earthquake. News coverage was relentless, analyzing every detail of the villain assault and the mysterious transformation quirk that had defeated a creature designed to kill All Might. Speculation ran wild. Some claimed Izuku was a secret government weapon. Others insisted he must be All Might's successor. A few even suggested he was some kind of artificial human created by hero agencies. None of them knew the truth. Izuku sat in his apartment watching the coverage with his mother. Inko's hands trembled as she saw footage of her son transformed into the Hulk, fighting the Nomu with devastating power. But she also saw the control, the precision, the fact that he'd protected everyone without killing anyone. You kept your promise, she whispered. You stayed in control. I always will, Mom, Izuku assured her. This power is part of me now, but it doesn't control me. I control it. His phone had been buzzing constantly since the incident. Messages from classmates thanking him, questions from people he barely knew, interview requests from media outlets. He ignored most of them, responding only to the people who mattered. Melissa's video call that night was emotional. She'd seen everything through the news coverage, had watched him fight, had seen him emerge victorious and in control. Her relief was palpable. You were amazing, she said, tears streaming down her face. I was so scared something would go wrong, that you'd lose control, that someone would get hurt. But nothing did, Izuku interrupted gently. Everything we practiced, everything we prepared for, it worked. I knew what I was doing every second of that fight. I know. But watching you face that monster, knowing that if something went wrong, she took a shaky breath. I can't lose you, Izuku. You're too important to me. You won't lose me. I promise. They talked for hours, processing the day's events, discussing the implications of his public display of power. The Hero Public Safety Commission had already reached out to UA, requesting information about Izuku's quirk for their databases. Principal Nezu was handling them, protecting Izuku's privacy while providing enough information to satisfy legal requirements. The truth about the gamma radiation, about the experiment on Island, remained classified. As far as the public knew, Izuku Midoriya had an extremely powerful transformation quirk, nothing more. Classes resumed 2 days later, but the atmosphere at UA had changed. Students looked at Izuku differently now, not with fear exactly, but with a kind of awed respect. He'd single-handedly defeated the League of Villains' greatest weapon. He'd protected everyone. He was, in many ways, the strongest person in their class. Bakugo hated it. The explosive boy's rivalry with Izuku intensified, driving him to train harder, push further, prove that his explosive power could compete with the Hulk's might. It was futile, of course. No amount of explosions could match unlimited strength, but Izuku respected the determination nonetheless. The sports festival is in 2 weeks, Aizawa announced during homeroom. It's the biggest event in the hero calendar. Every pro hero, every agency, every talent scout will be watching. This is your chance to make an impression, to show the world what you're capable of. The class buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. The sports festival was legendary, a tournament-style competition where hero students showcased their abilities for the entire nation. Winners gained prestige, recognition, offers from top agencies. For Izuku, it was an opportunity to show the world that the Hulk could be a hero, not just a weapon. But it also meant facing his classmates in direct combat. People he'd trained with, protected, considered friends. Could he fight them seriously without hurting them? Could he hold back enough to make it fair without insulting their efforts? These questions plagued him in the days leading up to the festival. Melissa helped, as she always did. "You're overthinking it," she said during one of their nightly calls. "The sports festival is about showing your best. Your classmates will be giving everything they have. You owe them the same respect, not holding back, but also not being unnecessarily brutal. Use your intelligence, your tactical thinking. Show them the Hulk isn't just brute force." "But what if I hurt someone? What if I lose control in the heat of competition?" "Izuku." Her voice was firm. You fought a bioweapon designed to kill All Might and maintained perfect control. You can handle a tournament against your classmates. Trust yourself. Trust the work we've done." The day of the sports festival arrived with clear skies and massive crowds. The stadium was packed with spectators, cameras broadcasting to millions of viewers across Japan and beyond. Every hero student's dream and nightmare, all rolled into one event. Class 1A gathered in the prep room, the energy electric with anticipation. Izuku stood near the back, observing his classmates prepare in their own ways. Bakugo was stretching aggressively, muttering threats at invisible opponents. Uraraka was psyching herself up with positive affirmations. Ida was reviewing hero regulations, ever the diligent student. "Nervous?" a voice asked. Izuku turned to find Shoto Todoroki, the dual quirk user who'd been quietly observing throughout their time at UA. The half-white, half-red-haired boy studied Izuku with an intensity that suggested he saw more than most. "A little," Izuku admitted. "You?" "No." Todoroki's expression was unreadable. "I'm going to win this festival. I need to prove something." "To who?" "Myself. My father. Everyone who thinks my power defines me." Todoroki's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your power is incredible. That transformation, the strength you showed at USJ, it's beyond what most pro heroes can achieve. But power alone doesn't make a hero." "I know," Izuku said quietly. "That's why I'm here, to prove I can be more than just the Hulk." Todoroki nodded, a hint of respect in his expression. "Then we're the same, both of us fighting against what people expect us to be." The conversation was cut short by Present Mike's voice booming through the speakers. "It's time. Let's get ready to rumble." The students filed out into the massive stadium, greeted by deafening cheers from the crowd. Izuku's enhanced hearing picked up fragments of conversations, people speculating about his quirk, comparing him to All Might, wondering if he'd transform during the competition. Midnight, serving as the festival's chief referee, stood on the central platform in her revealing hero costume. "Quiet, everyone. And for the student pledge, we have the first-year representative, Izuku Midoriya." The crowd erupted. Izuku walked to the microphone, feeling thousands of eyes on him. This wasn't like the USJ, where adrenaline and necessity drove his actions. This was deliberate, public, a statement to the entire hero world. He took a breath and spoke. "Everyone here is training to be a hero. We all have our own reasons, our own motivations, our own dreams. Some of us have powerful quirks. Others rely on intelligence and training. But what makes a hero isn't the power we're born with, it's what we choose to do with it." He paused, his green eyes scanning the crowd. "I pledge to give everything I have in this festival. Not to dominate, not to show off, but to honor the spirit of competition and the dream we all share. May the best hero win." The crowd's response was mixed. Some cheered, others murmured about the untraditional pledge, but Izuku didn't care. He'd spoken his truth. Midnight announced the first event, an obstacle race. Students would navigate a 4-kilometer course filled with various obstacles designed to test mobility, decision-making, and quirk application. Simple premise, chaotic execution. The starting gun fired. Todoroki immediately used his ice quirk to freeze the ground, but trapping most competitors in place. Bakugo blasted over the ice with explosions. A few others with mobility quirks managed to evade. Izuku simply ran. His enhanced physiology made the ice meaningless. His strength and balance were such that slippery surfaces didn't affect him. He overtook frozen students with ease, his speed in human form already superhuman. The first obstacle appeared. Massive robots, the same zero-pointers from the entrance exam. They blocked the path, designed to force students to find creative solutions. Todoroki froze one mid-motion, creating an ice structure he could run across. Bakugo blasted through with explosive power. Izuku approached at full sprint and, without slowing, delivered a single punch to the nearest robot's center mass. The machine exploded into scrap metal, parts scattering across the course. Izuku ran through the debris field, his enhanced durability allowing him to ignore the sharp metal fragments that would have injured normal students. The crowd went wild. "Midoriya just one-shot a zero-pointer," Present Mike shouted, "without even transforming. What kind of quirk is that?" The second obstacle was a chasm crossed by tight ropes. Most students had to carefully balance, using quirks for stability. Izuku didn't use the ropes, he leaped. The jump carried him completely across the chasm, a display of raw physical power that defied human limitations. He landed on the far side without breaking stride, continuing his run as if gravity was a suggestion rather than a law. The third obstacle was a minefield, pressure-sensitive explosives buried in dirt, designed to punish reckless rushing. Izuku slowed, his enhanced senses mapping the explosive locations through air displacement and chemical scent. He moved through the field with perfect precision, stepping between mines with the grace of someone who could see exactly where each danger lurked. Other students were struggling. Bakugo was blasting through mines, accepting the damage to maintain speed. Todoroki was using ice to create a path. Some students had given up on running and were crawling carefully. But Izuku was already nearing the finish line. He crossed first, a full 30 seconds ahead of the next closest competitor. Midnight announced his victory as Izuku stood calmly at the finish line, not even breathing hard. The crowd was losing their minds, cheering and speculating about his incredible performance. Todoroki finished second, his expression intense as he studied Izuku. Bakugo came in third, looking furious that he hadn't beaten either of them. The results board showed the top 42 students who would advance to the next event. Class 1A dominated, but students from other classes had made it through as well. Midnight revealed the second event, Cavalry Battle. Students would form teams of 4, with points assigned based on obstacle race rankings. The goal was to steal headbands while protecting your own. The person in first place, Izuku, would be worth 10 million points. Every eye in the stadium turned to him. Izuku felt the weight of that target. Everyone would be coming for him, trying to steal his headband, trying to prove they could overcome the strongest student. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about surviving the onslaught. "This is going to be interesting," Izuku murmured. Teams formed quickly. Most students tried to recruit powerful quirks or create balanced groups. Bakugo immediately claimed his own team, declaring he'd take Izuku down personally. Todoroki assembled what looked like the strongest possible combination of quirks. Izuku looked around at the remaining students, those who hadn't been grabbed by the aggressive teams. He saw Uraraka standing alone, looking uncertain. Ida was with Todoroki's team. Most of the top performers were already grouped. "Uraraka," Izuku called out. "Want to team up?" Her face lit up. "Really? But everyone's going to target you." "Exactly. Which means they won't see you coming." Izuku smiled. "Trust me." They recruited 2 other students, a girl with a creation quirk named Momo Yaoyorozu, and a boy with tape-dispensing elbows named Hanta Sero. Not the flashiest team, but each person brought unique utility. Izuku explained his strategy. "I'm the bait. Everyone comes for me, focuses on stealing the 10 million points. While they're distracted, you 3 work together to steal from other teams. We don't need to keep the 10 million if we can accumulate enough points from others." "But what if they actually get your headband?" Sero asked. Izuku's eyes glowed faintly green. "They won't." The cavalry battle began in chaos. Every team immediately charged toward Izuku's group. Bakugo's team led the assault, explosions firing as they tried to close distance. Todoroki's team used ice to create barriers and paths. A dozen other teams swarmed from different angles. Izuku, serving as his team's horse, didn't run. He stood firm as the first wave reached him. Bakugo's teammate tried to grab the headband, and Izuku simply moved his head, not transformed, just using enhanced reflexes to evade. Another team's formation tried to rush from behind, and Izuku shifted his body, using his teammates' quirks to defend while maintaining perfect balance. It was like watching someone play a game on easy mode. Every attack was predicted. Every formation was countered. Izuku's analytical mind, honed through years of quirk analysis, read each team's strategy before they executed it. His enhanced senses tracked every movement in the battlefield. Meanwhile, Uraraka was using her zero-gravity quirk to make their entire team weightless periodically, allowing them to float over opponents. Yaoyorozu created defensive tools and nets to steal headbands. Sero used his tape to grab points from teams focused on Izuku. 5 minutes into the battle, something remarkable happened. They'd accumulated enough points from other teams that losing the 10 million wouldn't eliminate them. Bakugo noticed, they're not just defending, they're stealing from everyone else. Todoroki's team shifted strategy, targeting other high-point groups while keeping an eye on Izuku. The battle became a complex dance of tactics, power, and teamwork. Izuku's team moved like a well-oiled machine, each member trusting the others completely. And every time someone got close to stealing the 10 million, Izuku's eyes would flash green. Just a hint of transformation, just enough to superhuman reflex out of reach. The timer counted down, 10 seconds, 9, 8. Todoroki made a final desperate push, using massive ice formations to try and trap Izuku's team in place. Bakugo attacked from another angle with a huge explosion. Izuku made a decision. He partially transformed just his legs, giving them explosive jumping power. Uraraka, make us weightless. She activated her quirk, and Izuku leaped. The cavalry team soared through the air, completely clearing both Todoroki's ice and Bakugo's explosion. They landed just as the timer hit 0, headbands intact, points secure. Midnight announced the results. Izuku's team had placed first, maintaining the 10 million points while also accumulating enough from other teams to create an insurmountable lead. The crowd was on their feet, cheering for the incredible display of teamwork and strategy. In the prep room afterward, teams caught their breath and prepared for the final event. Izuku's teammates were elated, congratulating each other. But Izuku noticed Todoroki approaching, his expression serious. "Midoriya," Todoroki said quietly, "in the final tournament, I'm going to face you seriously. No holding back. I need to prove something, and I can't do that unless you show me your full power." Izuku met his gaze. "Are you sure? You saw what happened at USJ. When I transform fully, I'm not easy to stop." "I don't want you to be easy to stop. I want to face the strongest person here." Todoroki's dual-colored eyes burned with intensity. "Give me everything. That's all I ask." "Then I will," Izuku promised. "But be ready, because when the Hulk comes out, there's no half measures." The final event was announced. A tournament-style bracket, one-on-one matches broadcast to the entire nation. The winner would be crowned the UA Sports Festival champion. Izuku's first match was against a student from Class 1B with a quirk that enhanced his speed. The match lasted less than 30 seconds. Izuku's enhanced reflexes made the speed boost meaningless, and a single precisely controlled strike ended the fight. His second match was against a girl who could create psychic barriers. Impressive quirk, but barriers didn't help when Izuku could simply wait for her to exhaust herself, then move in with controlled strikes that bypassed her defenses through pure technical skill. The semifinals arrived, and Izuku faced Bakugo. The explosive boy entered the arena with murder in his eyes. "This time, I'm going all out. No holding back. I don't care if you're the Hulk or whatever the hell you are. I'm going to prove I'm stronger." Izuku settled into a ready stance. "Then come on, show me everything." What followed was the most explosive match of the festival so far. Bakugo attacked with relentless aggression, using his quirk in increasingly creative and dangerous ways. Aerial bombardments, point-blank detonations, combination moves that showcased genuine combat genius. But Izuku matched him step for step. Without transforming, using only his enhanced human physiology and years of combat analysis, Izuku fought Bakugo to a standstill. Every explosion was evaded or tanked. Every aggressive rush was countered. It was a masterclass in technical combat. "Why won't you transform?" Bakugo screamed, frustration and rage mixing in his voice. "Fight me seriously." "I am fighting seriously," Izuku replied calmly. "But you don't need the Hulk to beat you. The human side is enough." The statement, meant as acknowledgement of Bakugo's skill, instead enraged him further. He unleashed his ultimate move, a massive explosion that consumed half the arena, using so much power that his arms began to smoke from overuse. When the smoke cleared, Izuku stood untouched, his eyes glowing faintly green. "My turn," he said quietly. A single punch, not transformed, just enhanced with a fraction of the Hulk's strength. It caught Bakugo in the chest and sent him flying out of bounds, the force controlled perfectly to incapacitate without causing serious injury. Midnight announced Izuku as the winner. Bakugo lay at the edge of the arena, conscious but defeated, staring at the sky with an expression that mixed rage, humiliation, and perhaps the first real recognition of the impossible gap between them. The other semifinal match was between Todoroki and Ida. It was a spectacular showcase of ice and speed, but ultimately, Todoroki's overwhelming elemental power secured the victory, which meant the final match would be Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. The stadium erupted with excitement. This was the fight everyone wanted to see, the transformation quirk that defeated a Nomu versus the dual elemental power of Endeavor's son. They stood opposite each other in the repaired arena, the tension palpable. "Are you ready?" Todoroki asked. "The question is, are you?" Izuku replied. Midnight's voice rang out. "Begin!" Todoroki immediately unleashed a massive ice wall, trying to overwhelm Izuku with sheer scale. Izuku's eyes blazed green, and he transformed. The Hulk shattered the ice wall with a casual backhand, frozen shards exploding in every direction. Todoroki created more ice, building layers of defense, but each wall was demolished as easily as the first. "You're only using your ice," the Hulk observed, his deep voice carrying across the arena. "You have fire too. Why won't you use it?" "I refuse," Todoroki said through gritted teeth, creating another ice barrier. "I won't use that bastard's power." "Then you've already lost." The Hulk charged forward, each footstep creating small tremors. He smashed through Todoroki's defenses like they were made of paper. Todoroki created ice beneath the Hulk's feet, trying to slip him up. The Hulk didn't even slow. He grabbed Todoroki by the shirt, lifting him effortlessly. "You're fighting yourself more than you're fighting me," the Hulk said, and Izuku's intelligence shone through the monstrous form. "This power you're suppressing, it's yours, not his. Until you accept that, you'll never reach your full potential." "What do you know about it?" Todoroki shouted, frost spreading from his right side. "I know what it's like to hate what you are," the Hulk replied quietly. "I know what it's like to be defined by power you didn't ask for. But I learned something. The power isn't what defines you, it's what you choose to do with it." He set Todoroki down. "Now, fight me properly, or I'll end this without giving you the battle you deserve." For a moment, Todoroki stood frozen, literally and figuratively. Then something shifted in his expression. Flames erupted from his left side, mixing with the ice from his right. His dual quirk fully activated for the first time in the festival. The crowd went absolutely wild. Todoroki attacked with both elements, creating devastating combination moves. Ice spikes followed by flame waves, frozen barriers that melted into boiling water, temperature extremes that would have killed a normal opponent. The Hulk weathered it all, his gamma-enhanced durability making him nearly invincible. But he wasn't just tanking, he was fighting back, showing Todoroki respect by meeting his full power with equal force. A thunderclap dispersed Todoroki's largest fire attack. A ground pound created shockwaves that disrupted his ice formations. The Hulk fought with skill and power in equal measure, showing that raw strength combined with tactical intelligence was nearly unstoppable. But Todoroki wasn't giving up. He pushed himself beyond his limits, using both quirks simultaneously at maximum output, creating a storm of fire and ice that transformed the arena into a hellscape. It was magnificent. It was hopeless. The Hulk walked through the elemental chaos completely unbothered. When he reached Todoroki, the dual quirk user was exhausted, his body temperature dangerously unbalanced from overuse, but still standing. "Good fight," the Hulk said. Then with one finger, he pushed Todoroki out of bounds. Midnight announced the Hulk, Izuku Midoriya, as the winner of the UA Sports Festival. The crowd's roar was deafening. The Hulk stood in the center of the destroyed arena and transformed back to Izuku, who raised one hand in acknowledgement of the cheers. In that moment, the entire hero world saw it. A quirkless boy who'd been transformed by science into the most powerful being any of them had ever witnessed. Someone who could control immense power with precision and restraint. Someone who could be both human and monster, yet choose to be a hero. Later, during the awards ceremony, All Might presented the medals. When he placed the gold medal around Izuku's neck, he whispered, "You've surpassed every expectation, young man. I'm proud of you." Izuku looked out at the crowd, at his classmates, at the cameras broadcasting his victory to millions. He thought of Melissa watching from Island, of his mother in the audience crying happy tears, of everyone who'd believed in him. The Hulk was no longer a secret. The world knew he existed, knew he was powerful, knew he was training to be a hero, and Izuku was ready for everything that would come next. The week following the sports festival was surreal. Izuku's face was everywhere. News broadcasts, social media, promotional materials. Professional heroes were calling UA, requesting him for internships. Some saw potential, others saw a weapon to exploit. Principal Nezu handled the requests with diplomatic efficiency, filtering out agencies with questionable intentions and presenting Izuku with a carefully curated list of options. Gran Torino has requested you personally, Nezu said during their private meeting. He's one of the few heroes who trained All Might himself. He says, and I quote, "I want to see if this Hulk kid can take a real beating." Izuku smiled at that. He sounds interesting. He's also extremely powerful and has no patience for wasted potential, Nezu added. If you intern with him, be prepared for intense training. Other offers came from well-known heroes. Best Genist wanted to teach Izuku restraint and public image management. Endeavor had sent a terse message expressing interest in training powerful students. Gang Orca offered combat-focused internships, but one name on the list caught Izuku's attention. Manual, a normal-tier hero known for community-focused hero work in Hosu City. "Why would Manual request me?" Izuku asked. "He's not particularly powerful or well-known compared to these others." "Perhaps that's exactly why," Nezu suggested. "Not all hero work is about overwhelming force. Sometimes the greatest lessons come from those who operate without flashy quirks or massive agencies." Izuku made his decision. He'd intern with Gran Torino for intensive combat training, but he'd also reach out to Manual about potential community engagement opportunities. Balance was key, learning to fight better while also learning to be a hero beyond just battles. His classmates made their own choices. Bakugo chose Best Genist, much to his visible displeasure. Uraraka selected a martial arts hero to improve her combat skills. Ida chose Manual, which surprised Izuku. The speedster seemed like he'd prefer a more prestigious agency. "Is everything okay?" Izuku asked Ida before they left for internships. "Yes, of course," Ida replied, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "I just thought Manual would provide good experience." Something felt off, but Izuku didn't push. Everyone had their reasons. Gran Torino's agency was exactly what Izuku expected. Small, unassuming, located in a quiet neighborhood far from major hero agencies. The old hero himself appeared as a frail elderly man until he moved. Then that illusion shattered, revealing speed and power that defied his age. "So you're the Hulk kid," Gran Torino said, studying Izuku with sharp eyes. "All Might called me, told me about your situation. Gamma radiation transformation, unlimited strength potential. Impressive, also terrifying." "I get that a lot," Izuku said. "Show me," Gran Torino demanded. "Transform. Let's see what we're working with." Izuku obliged. The Hulk filled the small training room, his presence overwhelming despite the confined space. Gran Torino circled him, analyzing. "Control seems good. You're lucid, intelligent, not showing signs of rage. How long can you maintain this form?" "Indefinitely, if I stay calm. Longer if I'm angry." "And if you lose control?" "I won't," Izuku said firmly. "Everyone loses control sometimes, kid. That's what makes you human." Gran Torino stopped in front of the Hulk. "The question is, what happens when you do?" Before Izuku could answer, the old hero moved. One moment he was standing still. The next, he delivered a devastating kick to the Hulk's ribs that would have shattered a normal person's bones. The Hulk didn't even stumble. Interesting, Gran Torino said, already moving again. Another kick, this time to the head. Then a spinning attack aimed at the legs. Each strike was fast enough that a normal person couldn't track it, powerful enough to demolish concrete. The Hulk caught his ankle mid-kick. Fast, the Hulk acknowledged. But not fast enough. Gran Torino grinned. Good, now let's see how you handle this. What followed was the most intense training Izuku had ever experienced. Gran Torino didn't hold back, attacking with speed and precision that tested the Hulk's reflexes. But more than that, he forced Izuku to think while fighting, to analyze patterns while tanking hits, to maintain tactical awareness even when instincts screamed to just smash. Power without thought is worthless, Gran Torino shouted, delivering another lightning-fast strike. You can be as strong as you want, but if you can't think 3 steps ahead, you're just a mindless weapon. Izuku learned. He adapted. His analytical mind, combined with the Hulk's power, made him a frighteningly fast learner. On the 3rd day of his internship, the news broke. The hero killer Stain had struck again in Hosu City, this time seriously injuring the turbo hero Ingenium, Ida's brother. Izuku saw the news and immediately understood why Ida had chosen Manuel's agency in Hosu. It wasn't about training, it was about revenge. I need to go to Hosu, Izuku told Gran Torino. The old hero studied him. The hero killer? My classmate's brother was attacked. I think Ida is going to do something stupid. Gran Torino was quiet for a moment. Then we're both going. I'll contact Manuel, coordinate with local heroes. But Midoriya, if you face Stain, be careful. He's not like the thugs from USJ. He's a true believer, a fanatic who thinks he's purifying hero society. Those are the most dangerous enemies. They arrived in Hosu City to find chaos. Not just Stain's attacks, but something worse. Nomu. Multiple Nomu, engineered creatures attacking throughout the city, causing destruction and terror. The League of Villains, Izuku growled, his eyes already glowing. This is a coordinated attack. Gran Torino nodded grimly. I'll handle the Nomu in the commercial district. You need to find your friend before Stain does. Izuku didn't need to be told twice. He transformed fully into the Hulk and leaped, his jump carrying him blocks at a time, enhanced senses searching for Ida's presence. He found them in an alley. Ida, facing off against Stain, already paralyzed by the hero killer's quirk. Stain stood over him, blade raised for a killing blow, while Todoroki and a pro-hero named Native were also paralyzed nearby. Stop! The Hulk's voice boomed through the alley, the sheer force of his shout creating wind pressure that rattled windows. Stain turned, and for the first time in their encounter, the hero killer showed genuine surprise. The Hulk. I've seen your battles. You're different from these false heroes. Put down the blade, the Hulk demanded, advancing slowly. Each footstep created small tremors, a reminder of the catastrophic power approaching. I can't do that, Stain said calmly. These people call themselves heroes, but they're frauds. They seek glory and wealth, not true heroism. I must purge them. By killing them, that's not purification, that's murder. Sometimes society needs blood to remember what heroes truly are. Stain's eyes gleamed with fanatic certainty. You, though, you're genuine. I've watched you fight. You protect without seeking glory. You could have monetized your power, become rich from endorsements, but instead you came to save your friend. That's what a true hero looks like. Then you understand why I can't let you kill them, the Hulk said, because protecting people is what heroes do, even when those people are flawed. Stain smiled, a terrifying expression on his blood-stained face. Then show me. Show me the conviction behind your power. The hero killer attacked with the speed and precision that had killed dozens of heroes. His quirk, Blood Curdle, paralyzed anyone whose blood he ingested, turning them into helpless targets for his blades. Against the Hulk, it was meaningless. Stain's blade struck the Hulk's skin and shattered. The metal couldn't penetrate gamma-enhanced durability. Even if it could, paralyzing the Hulk would require ingesting his blood, and that would be catastrophic for the villain. Your quirk can't hurt me, the Hulk said, catching Stain's wrist as he tried another attack. And your ideology is flawed. Heroes aren't perfect, they're people, doing their best to protect others despite their flaws. Then they should be better. Stain snarled, trying to break free. Society needs symbols of hope, not greedy opportunists. Society needs heroes who are human enough to relate to, the Hulk countered. He lifted Stain effortlessly, holding him at arm's length. You want perfection? Look around. The world is messy, complicated, full of people trying their best. That's reality. Stain went limp, not from surrender, but from recognition. You truly believe that? You, with power beyond any hero I've witnessed, still believe in flawed humanity? I have to, the Hulk said quietly, because I'm the most flawed of all. If I can be a hero despite being a monster, anyone can. He set Stain down gently, and the hero killer made no move to attack. The fight had gone out of him, replaced by something like contemplation. The Nomu, Stain said suddenly. There are more of them throughout the city. If you're truly a hero, that's where you're needed. The Hulk heard it then. The sounds of destruction blocks away, screams of terror, the roar of bioengineered monsters attacking indiscriminately. He looked at the paralyzed heroes, at Stain, at the impossible choice. But it wasn't impossible. Todoroki, the Hulk called out. The ice user's paralysis was starting to wear off, his fingers twitching. When you can move, restrain Stain. I'm trusting you. Then the Hulk leaped, launching himself toward the sounds of chaos. He found a Nomu terrorizing civilians, its enhanced strength allowing it to hurl cars and demolish buildings. This one was different from the USJ Stay specimen. Smaller, faster, more aggressive. It saw the Hulk and charged. Their collision created a shockwave that shattered nearby windows. The Nomu was strong, yes, engineered to match pro heroes. But it wasn't prepared for the Hulk. One punch caved in its chest. A second broke its regeneration response. The third sent it crashing through a building, unconscious and defeated. Two more Nomu appeared, drawn by the battle. The Hulk fought them both simultaneously, using techniques Gran Torino had drilled into him, thinking while fighting, analyzing their patterns, exploiting weaknesses. A thunderclap stunned one. A ground pound disrupted the other's footing. Precise, devastating strikes finished both. When the authorities arrived, they found the Hulk standing amid defeated Nomu, completely calm, entirely in control. "Where's the hero killer?" a police officer asked nervously. "Restrained in an alley 3 blocks east," the Hulk replied, transforming back to Izuku. "My classmates are there with him." The aftermath was complex. Stain was arrested, his reign of terror ended. The Nomu attack was identified as a League of Villains operation designed to cause chaos and kill heroes. Izuku's intervention had saved countless lives, but there was controversy too. Technically, as a student, Izuku wasn't authorized to use his quirk in combat outside of immediate self-defense. The fact that he'd engaged multiple Nomu and confronted the hero killer directly violated hero regulations. Gran Torino smoothed things over, arguing that Izuku had acted to save lives in an emergency situation. The media, already enamored with the Hulk after the sports festival, portrayed him as a hero who'd stepped up when needed. In the hospital, Ida apologized to Izuku for nearly getting himself killed. "I was so focused on revenge, I forgot what being a hero means," Ida said, his expression ashamed. "You reminded Stain and me both that heroism isn't about perfection or vengeance. It's about protecting people, even when it's hard." "We all have moments of weakness," Izuku replied. "What matters is learning from them." Todoroki was also there, having helped subdue Stain after the Hulk left. "That thing you said about power being yours regardless of where it came from, I've been thinking about it. You were right. My fire is mine to use, not my father's." As Izuku prepared to return to UA, his phone rang. Melissa's face appeared, her expression a mixture of pride and exasperation. "You fought the hero killer and multiple Nomu in one night," she said incredulously. "Most people would consider that a career highlight. For you, it's a Tuesday." "It wasn't planned," Izuku protested. "I was just trying to help Aida." "I know. That's what makes you special." Her expression softened. "You didn't transform for glory or recognition. You did it because people needed help. That's what a real hero looks like." They talked for hours, as they always did. Melissa was working on new support equipment based on data from his recent fights. Izuku shared his experiences training with Gran Torino, the lessons learned, the growth achieved. "When this semester ends," Melissa said quietly, "I want to visit Japan, see UA, meet your friends, actually be there instead of just watching through screens." "I'd like that," Izuku said warmly. "There's someone I want you to meet anyway. My mother keeps asking when she can thank you properly for helping me." After they said goodnight, Izuku lay in his room at Gran Torino's agency, reflecting on everything that had happened. The sports festival, the Hosu incident, the confrontation with Stain. Each event had tested him in different ways, but he'd passed every test. Not through power alone, but through control, compassion, and the unwavering belief that being a hero meant more than just winning fights. The Hulk wasn't just a weapon or a curse anymore. It was a tool, one he wielded with precision and purpose. And with each passing day, Izuku grew more confident in his ability to be the hero he'd always dreamed of becoming. Even if that hero was 8 feet tall, green, and capable of punching through buildings. Especially because of that, the world was changing. Villains were getting bolder, the League of Villains was growing more dangerous, and conflicts loomed on the horizon that would challenge everything hero society stood for. But Izuku Midoriya was ready. The Hulk was ready, and together they would show the world that true strength came not from the power you possessed, but from the choices you made with it. The story was far from over. This was just the beginning of a legend that would reshape hero society forever. The weeks following the Hosu incident brought unexpected changes to UA High School. Izuku returned to campus as something more than just a powerful student. He'd become a symbol. The footage of him defeating 3 Nomu single-handedly while saving countless civilians had gone viral across Japan. News outlets dubbed him the Emerald Guardian, though Izuku preferred simply being called a hero in training. But symbols attracted attention, and not all of it was positive. The Hero Public Safety Commission requested a private meeting with Izuku and Principal Nezu. They sat in Nezu's office, Izuku calm and composed, Nezu sipping tea with his characteristic knowing smile, and 3 commission representatives trying to maintain professional demeanor while clearly uncomfortable with the sheer presence of the student before them. Midoriya, the lead representative, began, a severe woman named Madam President. Your actions in Hosu were extraordinary. However, they also raised concerns about protocol and oversight. I saved lives, Izuku stated simply. People were dying. I had the power to stop it, so I did. Unauthorized quirk usage by students is a serious violation. His power isn't a quirk, Nezu interrupted smoothly. As you're well aware from the classified files, Izuku operates under different parameters than typical hero students. Madam President's jaw tightened. Which brings us to our proposal. The Commission would like to establish a special oversight committee for Midoriya's training and deployment. Given his unique capabilities, we believe proper supervision is essential. Izuku's eyes flashed green for just a moment. You want to control when and how I use my power. We want to ensure your power is used appropriately, another representative said, for the good of society. I decide what's appropriate, Izuku replied, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd fought monsters and lived. I've proven I can control this power. I've proven I won't abuse it. What you're really worried about is that I'm strong enough to say no to you. The room fell silent. Nezu's smile widened slightly. Young Midoriya makes an excellent point, the principal said. The commission exists to oversee hero activities, not to dictate the lives of students. Unless you have evidence he's misused his abilities, I see no reason for additional oversight beyond standard UA protocols. The meeting ended with barely concealed tension. As the representatives left, Madam President paused at the door. Power without oversight leads to tyranny, Midoriya. Remember that. Power with too much oversight leads to stagnation, Izuku countered. Heroes should protect people, not bureaucrats. When they were alone, Nezu regarded Izuku thoughtfully. You're learning to navigate the political aspects of heroism. That's good. You'll need that skill in the coming days. What do you mean? The League of Villains is still active. All for One, their master, remains in the shadows, and now they know you exist, a power that can defeat their Nomu with relative ease. Nezu's expression grew serious. They will target you eventually. The question is when and how. Izuku had considered this. Let them come. I'll be ready. I know you will, but readiness and preparation are different things. Nezu pulled out a file, which brings us to your final exams. The final exams at UA were legendary. Practical tests where students face their teachers in combat scenarios designed to push them to their absolute limits. For most students, this meant fighting pro heroes with years of experience and refined techniques. For Izuku, it meant something different entirely. You'll be facing me, All Might announced when the exam pairings were revealed. The symbol of peace stood before Class 1A, his presence commanding as always. Just you, no partner. The class erupted in whispers. Every other student was paired with a teammate to fight a single teacher. Izuku would face All Might alone. "That's not fair," Uraraka protested. "He's the strongest hero in Japan." "And young Midoriya is the strongest student," All Might replied. "This exam isn't about fairness. It's about testing limits." Izuku met All Might's gaze evenly. "I understand. When do we start?" "Tomorrow, at the training facility. I'll be waiting." That night, Izuku called Melissa. She appeared on his screen, her expression concerned when she saw his face. "You're thinking about something heavy," she observed. "What happened?" He explained the exam situation, facing All Might one-on-one, the pressure from the commission, the growing attention his power was attracting. "You're worried about hurting him," Melissa said softly. "Last time we fought, I nearly killed him. I was out of control then, but now..." Izuku stared at his hands. "Now I'm stronger. More in control, yes, but also more powerful. If I go all out." "Then don't go all out," Melissa interrupted. "Izuku, you've spent over a year learning control. You can transform partially, regulate your strength, fight at exactly the level you choose. This isn't about defeating All Might. It's about showing you can modulate your power even against the strongest opponent." "You're right," Izuku said, some tension leaving his shoulders. "Thank you. You always know what to say." "That's because I know you," she replied warmly, "better than anyone, and I know you're going to do great tomorrow." They talked for another hour before saying goodnight. Izuku lay in bed afterward, feeling the Hulk's presence in his mind. Not separate, not antagonistic, just there, a part of him as natural as breathing. Tomorrow would be interesting. The training facility was a massive urban environment, complete with buildings, streets, and various obstacles designed to simulate real hero work. All Might stood at one end, already in his muscular form, radiating power and confidence. Izuku approached from the other end, still in human form, but ready to transform at any moment. "The objective is simple." All Might's voice boomed across the facility. "Either capture me with these restraints, or escape the designated area within 30 minutes. You may use any means necessary." "Any means?" Izuku asked. All Might's smile widened. "I want to see how much you've grown, young Midoriya. Don't hold back on my account." Izuku's eyes began to glow. "If you're sure." The transformation was controlled, measured. Izuku grew to his full Hulk size but maintained complete clarity of thought. His muscles rippled with contained power as he settled into a ready stance. All Might charged. The symbol of peace moved with speed that defied his massive frame, crossing the distance in seconds. His fist drew back for a devastating punch that could level buildings. The Hulk caught it. Their clash created a shockwave that rattled every building in the facility. For a moment, they were locked in a contest of pure strength, All Might's legendary power against the Hulk's unlimited potential. The Hulk began pushing All Might back. It was subtle at first, just inches, but those inches became feet as the Hulk's strength ramped up to match and exceed his opponent. All Might's eyes widened slightly. He was using his full power, the might that had made him the symbol of peace, and it wasn't enough. "You've gotten stronger," All Might grunted, breaking the clash and leaping backward. "Much stronger than Island." "I've had good teachers," the Hulk replied, his voice carrying Izuku's intelligence and respect. "But this isn't about overpowering you. This is about control." All Might attacked again, this time with a combination of strikes meant to overwhelm through speed and precision. Each punch carried the force to demolish buildings, each movement perfectly executed from decades of experience. The Hulk defended with techniques Gran Torino had drilled into him. He didn't just tank the hits, he redirected them, using All Might's momentum against him. When an opening appeared, the Hulk delivered precise counterstrikes calculated to test without seriously injuring. It was a dance of titans, power meeting power, experience against adaptability. All Might went for his signature move. Detroit Smash! The punch carried all his legendary might, the attack that had defeated countless villains and saved millions. The Hulk met it with a thunderclap. The collision of forces was catastrophic. The shockwave demolished buildings in a 3-block radius. Windows shattered, metal bent, the very ground cracked from the pressure. When the dust cleared, both combatants stood their ground. All Might breathing heavily from exertion, the Hulk completely calm and unfazed. "You're holding back," All Might observed. "I can tell." "So are you," the Hulk countered. We could demolish this entire facility if we fought seriously, but that's not what this exam is about. All Might studied him for a long moment, then smiled. Not his public persona smile, but something genuine. You're right. This exam was never about combat. It was about judgment, knowing when to use power and when to restrain it. He pulled out the restraints meant for capture. You pass, young Midoriya. Not because you could defeat me, though I suspect at full power you could, but because you understood the real test. The Hulk transformed back to Izuku, who accepted the verdict with quiet satisfaction. Thank you, All Might, for everything you've taught me. The pleasure is mine, watching you grow from that angry, desperate boy on Ai Island to this. All Might gestured at Izuku. It's been one of my greatest joys as a teacher. As they walked back to the monitoring room where the other teachers observed, Aizawa gave Izuku an approving nod. Recovery Girl looked relieved that neither combatant was seriously injured. Principal Nezu's smile suggested he'd expected exactly this outcome. The other students had their own exams, some passed, some struggled, all were pushed to their limits. But the talk of the day was Izuku's fight with All Might, the battle that had demolished a significant portion of the training facility and demonstrated power that surpassed even Japan's greatest hero. That evening, Class 1A gathered in the common room, exhausted but relieved that exams were over. Izuku sat slightly apart from the main group, his presence commanding attention even when he tried to fade into the background. Kirishima approached, his usual energetic demeanor slightly subdued. Hey, Midoriya. That fight with All Might was insane. You're like the strongest person I've ever seen. Strength isn't everything, Izuku replied. You saw what happened to Ida when he let anger drive him. Power without purpose is just destruction. Yeah, but still. Kirishima sat down nearby. How do you handle it? Being that strong? Doesn't it ever scare you? Izuku considered the question seriously. Every day, I could hurt people without meaning to. I could lose control and cause catastrophic damage. But fear keeps me honest. It reminds me to stay vigilant, to never take my power for granted. Bakugo, listening from across the room, finally spoke up. You're still not using your full power, are you? Even against All Might? No, Izuku admitted, because my full power has no upper limit. The angrier I get, the stronger I become. If I truly let go, truly embraced rage without restraint. He trailed off, the implication clear. Then you'd be unstoppable, Todoroki said quietly. A force of nature rather than a person. That's why I train with meditation, why I work constantly on emotional control. The Hulk is part of me, but I choose how much of that power to express. Izuku looked around at his classmates. You all have your own struggles with your quirks. Mine is just more dramatic. The conversation shifted to lighter topics, but the underlying truth remained. Izuku Midoriya was in a category of his own, operating at a level that defied normal hero rankings. Later, alone in his room, Izuku received a text from Melissa. Saw the exam footage UA released. You were incredible, controlled, powerful, everything we've worked toward. He smiled, typing back, couldn't have done it without you. You gave me the tools to understand this power. You gave yourself the discipline to master it. I'm so proud of you. When are you visiting Japan? Mom's getting impatient. Next month, Dad's finally agreed to let me take a break from the lab. I can't wait to see you in person. Izuku felt warmth spread through his chest. Melissa had been his anchor through everything. The transformation, the training, the struggles with control. Their relationship had evolved from desperate connection during a crisis to something deeper, built on mutual understanding and genuine affection. I can't wait either. There's so much I want to show you. They continued messaging until late, discussing everything from support equipment designs to plans for her visit. When they finally said goodnight, Izuku felt more centered than he had in weeks. The summer training camp approached, and with it, an announcement that made the entire class buzz with excitement. They'd be staying in the mountains for a week of intensive quirk training designed to push their abilities to new heights. What none of them knew was that the League of Villains had been watching, planning, preparing for their next move, and Izuku Midoriya was their primary target. The Pussycats training facility was remote, surrounded by dense forest and mountains that provided the perfect environment for intensive quirk development. The pro heroes who ran the facility, Mandalay, Pixie Bob, Ragdoll, and Tiger, were experienced trainers who specialized in pushing students beyond their perceived limits. Class 1A and 1B arrived together, 40 students ready for a week of grueling work. The Pussycats explained the training regimen. Each student would have personalized exercises designed to strengthen their quirk's weaknesses and expand their capabilities. For Izuku, this presented a unique challenge. Your power is already essentially unlimited, Pixie Bob explained during the initial assessment. Traditional quirk training won't work for you. Instead, we're focusing on precision and control. They set up a course that required the Hulk to navigate obstacles without destroying them, a massive tree to climb without breaking branches, boulders to move without crushing, a rope bridge to cross without snapping the cables. Each task demanded restraint rather than raw power. Think of it like learning to pick up an egg without cracking it, Tiger said. Except the egg is everything around you, and your natural grip strength could pulverize steel. The training was frustrating in ways pure combat never was. The Hulk's instinct was to solve problems through overwhelming force. Teaching him finesse, delicacy, measured application, that required constant mental discipline. Other students had their own challenges. Bakugo was submerged in boiling water to expand his explosive output. Todoroki worked on using both his fire and ice simultaneously without temperature shock. Uraraka trained to extend her zero-gravity duration. On the third night, as students gathered around a campfire, exhausted from the day's training, the attack came. The forest erupted in blue flames. Dabi, the League of Villains fire user, stepped from the tree line with a manic smile. Behind him came others. Toga, the blood-manipulating psychopath, Twice, the cloning villain, Muscular, a massive beast of enhanced strength, Moonfish, with his blade-like teeth, Magni, with her magnetism quirk, and coordinating them all, a villain whose quirk allowed him to control other people's bodies like puppets. "We're here for the Hulk," Dabi announced, his flames illuminating the darkness. "The League wants you, Midoriya, dead or alive, though preferably alive for experimentation." Izuku stepped forward, his eyes already glowing green. Around him, the Pussycats moved into defensive positions, ordering students to evacuate to the facility. "You made a mistake coming here," Izuku said quietly. "This is a hero training camp. You're outnumbered and outmatched." Dabi laughed. "Are we?" "Muscular, show him what real strength looks like." The massive villain charged, his quirk-enhanced muscles bulging grotesquely. He'd killed dozens of heroes, crushed opponents with pure physical might that rivaled even the strongest pro-heroes. Izuku transformed and caught Muscular's punch with one hand. The shockwave from their collision flattened trees in a 50-foot radius. Muscular's eyes widened in shock. His full-power attack had been stopped cold. "You're strong," the Hulk acknowledged. "For a human, but you're not in my league." He squeezed, and Muscular's hand began to crumble. The villain screamed, trying to pull away, but the Hulk's grip was absolute. A calculated punch to the solar plexus sent Muscular flying through multiple trees before he crashed unconscious. Total fight time, 7 seconds. The other villains hesitated. They'd been told the Hulk was powerful, but seeing it demonstrated so casually was different from intelligence reports. "Everyone at once," Dabi shouted, launching a massive wave of blue flames. The Hulk created a thunderclap that dispersed the fire and created a shockwave that knocked several villains off their feet. Moonfish attacked with blade teeth extended, trying to pierce the Hulk's skin. The teeth shattered on impact. A ground pound created an earthquake that disrupted everyone's footing. The Hulk grabbed Moonfish and Magni, slamming them together with controlled force that knocked them unconscious without killing them. Twice tried to create clones of the Hulk, but his quirk couldn't replicate gamma-enhanced physiology. The copies emerged as normal-sized humans who were instantly defeated. Toga attempted her transformation quirk after collecting some of the Hulk's blood from a scratch, but drinking gamma-irradiated blood had catastrophic effects on her system. She collapsed, violently ill, her quirk unable to process the radioactive material. In less than 2 minutes, the Hulk had defeated 6 villains who'd been sent specifically to capture or kill him. Dabi stood alone, his flames flickering uncertainly. "This isn't over. The League will." A portal opened behind him. Kurogiri's voice emanated from the darkness. "Retreat. The mission is compromised." "Like hell Dabi started to argue. "Now." The command carried weight that brooked no argument. The portal swallowed Dabi before he could protest further. Additional portals appeared around the unconscious villains, retrieving them before the heroes could secure them. Silence fell over the forest. The pussycats emerged from their defensive positions, staring at the devastation. Trees were flattened, the ground was cratered, and scorch marks indicated where Dabi's flames had burned. "You just defeated the League of Villains assault team in under 3 minutes," Mandalay said slowly. "By yourself." The Hulk transformed back to Izuku, who surveyed the damage with a slight frown. "They were targeting me specifically, probably hoping to capture me for All for One's experiments or eliminate me as a threat to their operations." "Did you have to destroy half the forest?" Pixie Bob asked, though her tone carried awe rather than criticism. "Actually, I held back significantly," Izuku replied. "If I'd used a full-power thunderclap, the shockwave would have flattened everything within a mile radius." The students who'd witnessed the battle from the facility emerged cautiously. Izuku saw fear in some eyes, admiration in others, and calculation in a few. He just demonstrated why he was considered the most dangerous student at UA. But more than that, he'd proven something crucial. The League of Villains couldn't take him in direct combat. They'd need to change tactics, find weaknesses that didn't involve physical confrontation. That night, while the Pussycats contacted authorities and secured the perimeter, Izuku called Melissa. "They came for you," she said immediately, having already heard about the attack through news channels. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. They weren't prepared for how strong I've gotten." Izuku sat on the facility's roof, looking at the stars. "But this confirms it. All for One knows about me and sees me as a threat." "Good. You are a threat. To him, to the League, to anyone who thinks they can hurt innocent people." Melissa's voice softened. "But I still worry about you. These people are dangerous." "So am I," Izuku said quietly. "That's what scares me sometimes. The League sent their strongest fighters and I beat them in minutes without even trying. What does that make me?" "It makes you someone who can protect people from monsters like them. Don't second-guess your strength, Izuku. The world needs someone like you." They talked until dawn, Melissa's presence, even through a phone screen, providing the emotional grounding Izuku needed. By the time they said goodbye, he felt centered again, ready to face whatever came next. The training camp continued, though with significantly enhanced security. The rest of the week passed without incident, each student making impressive gains in their quirk control. Izuku's precision training showed results too. By the final day, he could transform partially, just his hand, just his legs, just enough to accomplish specific tasks without going full Hulk. The control was remarkable, a demonstration of how far he'd come from the rage-driven monster he'd been on Island. When they returned to UA, Aizawa pulled Izuku aside. "The provisional hero license exam is coming up," the teacher said. "It's a test that determines whether you're ready to act as a hero in emergency situations. Normally, students take it in their second year, but given recent events," he gestured vaguely at Izuku, "the commission has agreed to let first years participate." "What does the exam involve?" 2 stages. First, a mass rescue scenario where you demonstrate the ability to save people under chaotic conditions. Second, a combat test against other applicants from hero schools across Japan. Aizawa's expression grew serious. "This exam has a low pass rate. Most students fail their first attempt." "But you think I'll pass," Izuku said. "I think you could pass it in your sleep. The question is whether you can pass it without revealing the full extent of your power. The commission will be watching closely. Too much force, too much destruction, and they'll use it as ammunition to increase oversight on you." Izuku understood the subtext. This wasn't just about getting his license. It was about proving he could operate within society's rules without being controlled by them. The exam took place at a massive facility designed to simulate disaster zones. Over 1,000 students from various hero schools gathered, all competing for limited provisional licenses. The first stage began with an announcement. A simulated terrorist attack had created mass casualties. Students had to rescue injured civilians, played by trained actors and realistic dummies, while navigating environmental hazards and occasional villain attacks from examiners. Izuku worked with his classmates, using his enhanced strength to move debris, his durability to shield people from falling rubble, and his analytical mind to coordinate rescue efforts. He specifically avoided transforming fully, relying instead on partial transformations and enhanced human abilities. Uraraka used her zero gravity to lift people to safety. Todoroki created ice ramps for evacuation. Ida carried multiple victims with his speed. Class 1A operated like a well-oiled machine. Their sports festival experience and training camp bonding translating into effective teamwork. The examiners watching from the control room were impressed. One made notes. Midoriya shows excellent restraint, using minimal force necessary for each task, coordinating with teammates effectively. No excessive property damage. When the first stage concluded, 90 students had passed, including all of Class 1A. The second stage was announced, combat elimination. Students would attempt to defeat opponents by hitting specific targets on their bodies with provided balls. 3 hits and you were eliminated. Last 100 students standing would receive licenses. It was essentially a massive battle royale. The exam started in chaos. Students from different schools immediately began forming alliances, targeting UA students specifically due to their sports festival reputation. Izuku found himself quickly surrounded by a dozen competitors, all recognizing him as the biggest threat. "Take down the Hulk," someone shouted. They attacked in coordination, throwing balls from multiple angles, using quirks to enhance speed and accuracy. Izuku didn't transform. He didn't need to. His enhanced reflexes, developed through Gran Torino's training, allowed him to dodge each ball with minimal movement. When opponents got too close, precise strikes to their target zones eliminated them without injuring anyone. It was almost unfair. Within 5 minutes, Izuku had eliminated 20 opponents without being hit once. Other students began giving him a wide berth, recognizing that attacking him was essentially volunteering for elimination. His classmates had their own battles. Bakugo fought with explosive aggression, eliminating opponents left and right. Todoroki created defensive ice walls and offensive fire attacks. Uraraka used creative applications of her zero-gravity quirk, but the real surprise came from an unexpected source. A student from Shiketsu High School, a prestigious rival academy, approached Izuku with unusual confidence. He was tall, with a friendly smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Midoriya from UA," the student said. "I'm Yoarashi. I've wanted to test myself against you ever since the sports festival." "Then let's make it interesting," Izuku replied. Yoarashi's quirk was revealed to be powerful wind manipulation. He created tornadoes that devastated the surrounding area, forcing other students to flee. The wind pressure was intense enough to lift cars and shatter windows. Izuku stood unmoved, his enhanced physiology making him too heavy and stable to be affected. "Impressive quirk," Izuku acknowledged, "but wind doesn't work on me." He moved forward through the tornado, each step deliberate and unhurried. Yoarashi intensified his winds, combining multiple tornadoes into one massive vortex. Izuku created a thunderclap. The compressed air shockwave dispersed the tornado instantly. The resulting pressure wave knocked Yoarashi off his feet and eliminated several other students caught in the radius. "You're strong," Izuku said, approaching the fallen student. "But you relied too much on your quirk's raw power. Tactics matter more than force." He tagged Yoarashi's targets, eliminating him from the exam. As the combat stage progressed, a pattern emerged. Students either avoided Izuku entirely or attacked in large groups only to be systematically eliminated. His combination of analytical thinking and overwhelming physical capability made him essentially unbeatable in this format. The final count had 97 students remaining when time expired. All of Class 1A had passed, along with students from various other schools. During the award ceremony, the Hero Public Safety Commission's president, Madam President, presented the provisional licenses. When she reached Izuku, she paused. "Midoriya, your performance was exemplary. You showed restraint, tactical thinking, and effective heroics. However," her expression hardened slightly, "remember that this license comes with responsibilities. You're now authorized to use your abilities in emergency situations, but that authority can be revoked if you demonstrate reckless behavior." "I understand," Izuku replied evenly. "I take the responsibility seriously. See that you do." She handed him the license and moved on to the next student. That evening, Class 1A celebrated at a restaurant, everyone energized by their success. Izuku sat with his closest friends, Uraraka, Ida, Todoroki, discussing their experiences. You barely even tried, Uraraka observed, and you still dominated the entire exam. That's what happens when you're the Hulk, Todoroki said. Normal tests aren't designed for someone at his level. It felt wrong, Izuku admitted, like I was using a cheat code. Everyone else was struggling, pushing their limits, and I just walked through it. That's not your fault, Ida said firmly. You've worked incredibly hard to master your power. The fact that you've achieved such control is testament to your dedication. Bakugo, listening from a nearby table, slammed his drink down. Don't act like it's all skill, you bastard. You've got unlimited power. That's not dedication. That's biology. Izuku turned to face him. You're right. I was given this power through an accident, but what I've done with it, the control I've developed, the person I've chosen to be, that's all me. You can resent my strength all you want, Bakugo, but it won't change the fact that I earned this license the same way you did. The explosive boy glared but said nothing more, like turning back to his food with barely restrained anger. Later, walking back to the dorms, Todoroki spoke quietly to Izuku. He'll never admit it, but Bakugo respects you. He just doesn't know how to process that someone's fundamentally stronger than him. I know. His ego is both his greatest strength and his biggest weakness. Izuku looked at the provisional license in his hand. But this changes things. We're not just students anymore. We're heroes, even if we're still learning. Which means greater responsibility, Todoroki agreed. And for you, greater scrutiny. I'm ready for it. The following weeks saw Class 1A begin their work-study programs, where they'd assist pro heroes with actual missions using their new provisional licenses. Izuku received offers from dozens of agencies, all eager to have the Hulk working with them. He chose carefully, selecting Ryukyu's agency. The Dragon Hero was known for her measured approach and focus on rescue work rather than pure combat. It seemed like the right fit for someone trying to prove he was more than just overwhelming force. On his first day, Ryukyu, a tall woman with dragon-like features even in human form, assessed him carefully. I've seen your battles, she said. USJ, the sports festival, Hosu, the training camp. You're incredibly powerful, but power isn't why I accepted you. Why did you accept me? Because you understand restraint. When you fought All Might in your final exam, you could have injured him. When you faced the League of Villains, you could have killed them. But you didn't. That judgment, that control, that's what makes a real hero. She assigned him to work with her team on patrol duties, responding to emergencies and helping with disaster relief. It was unglamorous work compared to fighting villains, but Izuku found it fulfilling. He helped excavate people trapped in collapsed buildings, his strength allowing him to move tons of rubble safely. He assisted in fire rescues, his durability letting him enter burning structures. He even helped with traffic accidents, carefully extracting injured people from destroyed vehicles. During one patrol, they encountered a villain with a quirk that created explosive crystals. The fight took place in a crowded shopping district, with civilians everywhere. Izuku transformed partially, just enough to tank the crystal explosions while protecting bystanders. He moved with surgical precision, neutralizing the villain without damaging the surrounding buildings or endangering civilians. Ryukyu watched approvingly. That's exactly what I wanted to see. You could have ended that fight in seconds with overwhelming force, but you chose to protect people first. That's the mark of a true hero. The praise meant more to Izuku than she probably realized. For so long, he'd been defined by his power, by the Hulk's strength. Being recognized for his judgment and restraint felt like validation of everything he'd worked toward. But peace never lasted long in Hero Society. The League of Villains was regrouping, planning something massive. Intelligence reports indicated All For One himself was becoming active, preparing for a confrontation with Hero Society that would reshape Japan's entire hero system. And Izuku Midoriya, the one person who'd consistently defeated the League's forces, would inevitably be caught in the center of it. The message came during a routine patrol. All Might contacted Izuku directly, his voice carrying unusual urgency. Young Midoriya, we need to talk, immediately. Something's happened. They met at UA, in Principal Nezu's office. The atmosphere was tense. All Might, Nezu, Aizawa, and several pro heroes Izuku didn't recognize all gathered around a conference table. What's going on? Izuku asked. Nezu gestured to a screen displaying intelligence reports. We've intercepted communications from the League of Villains. They're planning a major operation in Kamino Ward, a show of force designed to destabilize hero society and prove their superiority. When? 3 days from now. We're assembling a task force of top heroes to intercept them. All Might's expression was grave. But there's something else. All for One specifically mentioned you in these communications. The screen changed to show a transcript. The Hulk will come. His sense of justice won't allow him to ignore a threat of this magnitude. When he arrives, we'll capture him and study his power. Imagine an army of Nomu with gamma-enhanced capabilities. Izuku felt cold rage building in his chest. They wanted to turn him into a weapon, replicate his power in their bioengineered monsters. Let them try, Izuku said quietly, his eyes beginning to glow. I'll tear through their entire operation. That's exactly what they're counting on. Nezu interjected. This could be a trap designed to push you into a rage state where you're easier to manipulate or contain. I won't lose control. Can you guarantee that? Aizawa asked. If they threaten your classmates, your mother, Melissa Shield, can you absolutely guarantee you'll maintain composure? The question hung in the air. Izuku wanted to say yes, but honesty forced him to acknowledge the truth. There were lines that, if crossed, would push him beyond rational control. I can guarantee I'll do what's necessary to protect people, Izuku said finally, even if that means showing All for One exactly why threatening me was his biggest mistake. All Might studied him for a long moment. Then you'll be part of the task force. But you'll follow orders, work with the team, and if we say retreat, you retreat. Understood? Understood. The meeting continued with tactical planning. The task force would include All Might, Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Gran Torino, and several other top-ranking heroes. Their objective was to raid the League's hideout, rescue any captives, and ideally capture or eliminate All for One himself. Izuku would serve as heavy assault. His role was to engage the Nomu and any high-threat combatants while the other heroes handled evacuation and support. Over the next 3 days, Izuku prepared. He trained with Gran Torino, refining his combat techniques. He meditated to ensure emotional stability. He coordinated with Melissa, who'd helped design new support equipment specifically for this operation. These are for communication, she explained over video call, showing him nearly indestructible earpieces. Gamma-resistant, virtually unbreakable. Even if you fully transform, you'll be able to stay in contact with the team. You're amazing, Izuku said warmly. Thank you for always thinking of everything. That's my job, keeping you safe and effective. Her expression grew serious. Promise me you'll come back. I'm supposed to visit next week, and I refuse to show up to your funeral instead. I promise. I'm too stubborn to die and too in love with you to not come back. The words slipped out before Izuku fully processed them. Melissa froze, her eyes widening. Did you just say I'm in love with you? Yes. Izuku felt his heart racing, but pressed forward. I've been in love with you since you stood between me and All Might on Island. Since you looked at the Hulk and saw me instead of a monster. Since you became the person I think about first thing every morning and last thing every night. Tears welled in Melissa's eyes. I love you too, you idiot. I've loved you for months. I was just waiting for you to figure it out. They both laughed, the tension breaking into something warm and beautiful. When I get back, Izuku said, when this operation is over, we're going to have a proper conversation about this. About us. About everything. I'm holding you to that promise, Melissa replied. Now go save the world, Worldbreaker, and come home to me. The raid on Kamino Ward began at dawn. The League of Villains' hideout was a nondescript warehouse in an industrial district, chosen specifically because its remote location minimized civilian casualties during the inevitable battle. The hero task force approached in teams. All Might and Endeavor would lead the frontal assault. Best Jeanist and other heroes would establish a perimeter and handle evacuation. Gran Torino and Izuku would engage high-threat targets. The plan lasted approximately 30 seconds after engagement. All for One was waiting for them. The ancient villain emerged from the warehouse, his presence radiating malevolent power. He looked unremarkable, a well-dressed man in his 40s, but the sheer force of his quirk made the air itself feel heavy. All Might, All for One said pleasantly. How kind of you to bring so many heroes to their deaths. And you brought the Hulk as well. excellent. Multiple Nomu emerged from the warehouse, each one designed with specific quirks to counter different heroes. They'd been prepared, had planned for this exact scenario. All Might charged All for One directly, their clash creating a shockwave that shattered every window in a 3-block radius. The symbol of peace versus the Lord of Evil, power against power in a battle that would determine Hero Society's future. Endeavor engaged 3 Nomu simultaneously, his flames creating an inferno that turned the industrial district into a hellscape. Best Jeanist used his quirk to manipulate fabric and fibers, restraining Nomu and creating defensive barriers. And Izuku faced what appeared to be the League's ultimate creation, a Nomu specifically designed to fight the Hulk. It was massive, even by Nomu standards, 12 feet tall, covered in armor-like plating, with multiple quirks visible in its mutated physiology. It had shock absorption like the first Nomu, regeneration, and what appeared to be strength enhancement that rivaled muscular. This one cost us considerable resources, All for One called out casually, even while fighting All Might. But creating a Nomu that could match you seemed worth the investment. The Hulk and the anti-Hulk Nomu collided. Their first exchange of punches created a crater 50 feet across. The Nomu's strength was genuinely impressive, enough to stagger the Hulk with a solid hit. But the Hulk had something the Nomu didn't: intelligence and unlimited growth potential. Each time they clashed, the Hulk analyzed the Nomu's patterns. Each time he took damage, his gamma-enhanced physiology adapted. And each time he got angry, at the League for threatening people, at All for One for creating these monsters, at the entire situation, he got stronger. The Nomu landed a devastating combo that would have killed a normal person. The Hulk absorbed the damage, felt his power ramping up in response, and retaliated with a thunderclap that obliterated the Nomu's shock absorption capability. Interesting, All for One observed, somehow maintaining his conversation while fighting All Might. You're adapting faster than our projections indicated. The gamma radiation grants you reactive evolution. Fascinating. The Hulk grabbed the Nomu and delivered a ground pound that buried them both 30 feet underground. In the crater, surrounded by earth and concrete, the Hulk unleashed his full strength. Each punch cracked the Nomu's armor plating. Each strike overwhelmed its regeneration. The Hulk was fighting at a level that transcended normal hero-villain combat. This was cataclysmic force meeting bioengineered resilience, and the force was winning. The Nomu tried one final desperate attack, using all its quirks simultaneously in a combination move that should have been devastating. The Hulk caught it, spun, and hurled the Nomu skyward with such force that it broke the sound barrier. When the Nomu crashed back down, it didn't get up. The Hulk emerged from the crater to find the battle had progressed. All Might and All for One were still locked in combat, their fight demolishing buildings with each exchange. Endeavor had defeated his Nomu but was badly injured. Best Jeanist was maintaining the perimeter but clearly exhausted. Impressive, All for One said, observing the defeated anti-Hulk Nomu. You're even stronger than the intelligence indicated. Perhaps I should have allocated more resources to your capture. You should have left me alone, the Hulk rumbled, advancing toward the ancient villain. All for One smiled. Now, don't rush into this. You're powerful, yes, but I have quirks specifically designed to counter even someone like you. Forcible quirk activation, for instance, pushing your transformation into an uncontrolled rage state. Or perception manipulation, making you see your allies as enemies. Or the Hulk created a thunderclap aimed directly at All for One. The compressed air shockwave was devastating, powerful enough to level buildings. But All for One had quirks for defense too. Air barriers, impact negation, force redirection. He absorbed the attack and converted it into energy he could use. You see, power without strategy is predictable. All for One gestured and multiple quirks activated simultaneously. The ground beneath the Hulk liquefied, the air became toxic. Gravity intensified to crushing levels. The Hulk weathered it all, his gamma-enhanced physiology adapting to each new threat. Toxic air, his lungs filtered it. Increased gravity, his strength adjusted. Liquefied ground, he simply leaped clear. You're resourceful, the Hulk acknowledged. But you're fighting the wrong battle. This isn't about overwhelming me with quirks. It's about whether you can survive what happens when I stop holding back. His eyes blazed brighter. His muscles swelled. The temperature around him increased as gamma radiation began emanating from his body. This was the Hulk getting truly angry. All Might, recognizing the signs, shouted a warning. "Everyone clear the area. Young Midoriya's going to." The Hulk roared. The sonic attack was catastrophic, a gamma-enhanced sound wave that shattered concrete, bent steel, and created a pressure wave that knocked every combatant off their feet. All for One's defensive quirks strained under the assault, barely holding. Before the villain could recover, the Hulk was there. A punch to the midsections sent All for One flying through 3 buildings. The Hulk leaped, intercepting him mid-flight, and delivered a combination of strikes that overwhelmed even the ancient villain's multiple defensive quirks. All for One crashed into the ground, creating his own crater. For the first time, he looked genuinely concerned. "This power," he gasped, blood trickling from his mouth. "It's not a quirk. What are you?" "I'm what happens when science goes wrong and someone refuses to let that define them," the Hulk said. He grabbed All for One by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. "You wanted to study me? To replicate my power? Let me show you why that would have been your biggest mistake." He squeezed, cutting off All for One's air supply. The villain activated every offensive quirk he had. Energy blasts, physical enhancement, molecular manipulation. But the Hulk's grip was absolute. "Stop," All for One wheezed. "Kill me and the League will never stop targeting you. My death will make you their ultimate enemy. I'm already their enemy, and I'm okay with that." The Hulk drew back his fist for what would be a killing blow. "Young Midoriya, stop!" All Might's voice cut through the rage. The symbol of peace stood at the crater's edge, his heroic form maintained despite obvious exhaustion. "Don't cross that line. Don't become a killer. That's not what heroes do." The Hulk hesitated, his fist trembling with barely restrained power. "He's a monster," the Hulk growled. "He creates Nomu, orchestrates attacks that kill innocent people, threatens everyone I care about. The world would be better without him." "You're right, but killing him makes you no different than the villains we fight." All Might's voice carried absolute conviction. "We're heroes. We save people, we capture villains, we protect society. We don't execute fight no matter how much someone might deserve it." The Hulk stared at All for One's nearly unconscious form. Every instinct screamed to finish it, to eliminate this threat permanently. But he thought of Melissa, who believed he could be better than his rage. He thought of his mother, who trusted him to make the right choices. He thought of his classmates, who looked up to him as an example. The Hulk released All for One, letting him collapse unconscious in the crater. "Bind him," the Hulk said to the arriving heroes. "Heavy restraints, maximum security. If he escapes, it's on all of you." He transformed back to Izuku, the rage draining away to leave only exhaustion and the weight of decisions made. All Might approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You made the right choice, young Midoriya. I know it wasn't easy." "It was the hardest thing I've ever done," Izuku admitted. "I wanted to kill him. Part of me still does." That's what makes you human. What makes you a hero is that you didn't act on that impulse. The aftermath of Kamino Ward was extensive. All for One was imprisoned in Tartarus, Hero Society's maximum security facility for the most dangerous villains. The League of Villains scattered, their leadership broken, and their plans disrupted. The media coverage was overwhelming. Footage of the Hulk fighting the anti-Hulk Nomu went viral, showcasing power that exceeded even All Might's legendary battles. Izuku became a household name, not just as a hero student, but as a genuine force in Hero Society. The Hero Public Safety Commission tried again to establish oversight, but public opinion had shifted. People saw Izuku as a protector, someone who could face threats that even top heroes struggled against. Demanding he operate under excessive restrictions seemed counterproductive when he just helped defeat the greatest villain in Japan's history. A week after Kamino Ward, Melissa arrived in Japan. Izuku met her at the airport, nervous despite having faced down All for One days earlier. When she emerged from customs, their eyes met and everything else faded away. They didn't speak at first, just embraced. Melissa was crying and Izuku realized he was too. "You kept your promise," she whispered. "You came back." "I always will," he replied, "as long as you're waiting for me." They spent the day together, Izuku showing her around Tokyo, introducing her to his mother, taking her to UA to meet his classmates. Everywhere they went, people recognized Izuku, but he barely noticed. His attention was completely on Melissa. That evening, they sat on Yue's roof watching the sunset over the city. "I've been thinking," Melissa said quietly, "about us, about what happens next." "What do you mean?" "I'm finishing my degree soon. I'll be able to work anywhere, design support equipment for any agency. And I want..." She took a breath. "I want to work with you. Design equipment specifically for the Hulk, help you be the best hero you can be. But more than that, I want to be with you. Not just as a long-distance friend, but actually together." Izuku felt warmth spread through his chest. "I want that too, more than anything. You're the most important person in my life, Melissa. You always have been. Then when I graduate, I'm moving to Japan. I'll work with a support equipment company here, and we can actually build a life together instead of just video calls and promises. Your father will have opinions about that." "My father will deal with it," Melissa said firmly. "I love him, but I'm an adult making my own choices, and I choose you." They kissed as the sun set over Tokyo, two people who'd been brought together by catastrophe and built something beautiful from the wreckage. The weeks that followed were transformative. Class 1A returned to normal classes, but the dynamic had shifted. Everyone had seen what Izuku could do when truly pushed. His classmates treated him with new respect. Not fear, exactly, but recognition that he operated on a different level. Bakugo remained antagonistic, but even his rivalry had evolved. He pushed himself harder than ever, determined to close a gap that was realistically impossible to bridge. It was admirable in its stubborn refusal to accept limitations. Todoroki became a genuine friend, the two of them bonding over complex relationships with power and family expectations. They trained together, Todoroki working to master his dual quirk while Izuku refined his control. Uraraka and Ida remained close friends, providing normalcy in Izuku's increasingly extraordinary life. But the real change came from Izuku himself. He'd faced the ultimate villain and chosen mercy over vengeance. He'd proven he could control even world-breaking power. He'd built a life that balanced strength with compassion, power with responsibility. The League of Villains remained a threat, scattered but not defeated. They'd return eventually, seeking revenge or attempting to rescue All for One. When they did, Izuku would be ready. But for now, he focused on being a student, a hero in training, and someone building a future with the person he loved. The final test came unexpectedly. A massive villain attacked downtown Tokyo, someone with a quirk that created and controlled giant monsters made of earth and stone. The creature was devastating the city, and pro-heroes were struggling to contain it. Izuku received the alert during class. Without hesitation, he ran toward the danger, transforming mid-sprint into the Hulk. He arrived to find chaos. Buildings were collapsing, civilians were fleeing, and the Earth monster was growing larger with each passing minute. Pro-heroes were trying to evacuate people, but they couldn't engage the monster without risking massive collateral damage. The Hulk leaped into action. He grabbed the Earth monster's leg, his strength letting him halt its advance despite its massive size. With a calculated pull, he toppled the creature, creating a controlled fall that minimized damage to surrounding buildings. The villain controlling the monster was revealed. A man driven to desperation by Hero Society's failures, lashing out at a system he felt had abandoned him. "You're all the same," the villain screamed. "Heroes who only care about fame and money. None of you actually help people like me." The Hulk could have simply crushed him, ended the threat with overwhelming force. Instead, he transformed back to Izuku. "You're right," Izuku said, approaching calmly despite the danger. "Hero Society has problems. People fall through the cracks, get ignored, get forgotten. It's not perfect." "Then why defend it?" the villain demanded, his monster reforming to threaten Izuku. "Because perfect doesn't exist. The only choice is between trying to help people or giving up entirely, and I refuse to give up." Izuku stood before the Earth monster without fear. "You feel abandoned, ignored, like your pain doesn't matter. I understand that, but hurting innocent people doesn't fix the system. It just creates more victims." "What am I supposed to do? Just accept that I don't matter?" "No. You fight to change things properly. You work with people who actually care, who want to fix the problems you've experienced. You become part of the solution instead of adding to the damage." Izuku extended his hand. "Let me help you. Not as the Hulk, not as someone overpowering you, but as someone who understands that the system isn't perfect and wants to change it. The villain stared at Izuku's outstretched hand, at the earnest expression on his face, at the absolute sincerity in his words. The earth monster dissolved. The villain collapsed, sobbing, all his rage transforming into grief and exhaustion. Izuku helped him up, supporting him as other heroes arrived to provide assistance. Recovery Girl treated the villain's injuries. Mental health professionals were called. Systems were put in place to actually address the problems that had driven him to villainy in the first place. That evening, the news coverage wasn't about the Hulk's power. It was about Izuku Midoriya choosing compassion over force, talking someone down instead of simply defeating them. All Might called him personally. Young Midoriya, what you did today, that's what being a hero truly means. Not the strength to defeat villains, but the wisdom to save them when possible. I just did what felt right, Izuku replied. Power isn't the answer to every problem. Sometimes people just need to be heard, to be told they matter. And that's why you'll be one of the greatest heroes this generation produces. As first year drew to a close, Izuku reflected on everything that had changed. He'd gone from a quirkless kid with impossible dreams to someone who'd helped defeat the greatest villain in history. He'd mastered power that could reshape landscapes and learned when not to use it. He'd fallen in love with someone who saw past his monstrous exterior to the person underneath. He'd built friendships with classmates who treated him as an equal despite impossible power differentials. He'd earned the respect of professional heroes and the trust of a society that had every reason to fear him. The final assembly of the year saw Principal Nezu address the student body. You've all grown tremendously this year, the principal said. You've faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and demonstrated the qualities that make heroes. Some of you have shown exceptional promise. His eyes found Izuku in the crowd. But what I'm most proud of is not the power you've displayed, but the choices you've made with that power. Strength without wisdom is just destruction. Wisdom without strength is just philosophy. The combination, that's what changes the world. After the assembly, Izuku found Melissa waiting outside UA's gates. She'd been staying in Japan for the past month, working with a support equipment company while finalizing her plans to move permanently. Ready for summer? She asked, taking his hand. Ready for whatever comes next, Izuku replied. With you. They walked through Tokyo together, just two people in love, enjoying the moment before whatever new challenges awaited. But those challenges were coming. The League of Villains was regrouping, planning their next move. New villains were emerging, inspired by All for One's example. Hero Society was evolving, and not everyone was happy with the changes. And Izuku Midoriya, the Hulk, stood at the center of it all. A symbol of power tempered by compassion, strength guided by wisdom, and the promise that even someone transformed by catastrophe could choose to be a hero. The story wasn't over. It would never truly be over. But for now, walking hand in hand with Melissa through the city he'd sworn to protect, Izuku Midoriya was exactly where he needed to be. The second year at UA began with new challenges and familiar faces. Class 2A assembled in their homeroom, everyone changed by the experiences of first year. They'd faced villains, earned their provisional licenses, and grown into the heroes they were destined to become. Aizawa stood before them, his expression as perpetually tired as ever. Second year will be harder than first. The training intensifies, the expectations increase, and the world watches more closely. You're no longer rookies. You're heroes in training who've proven yourselves in real combat. His eyes found Izuku. Some of you have proven yourselves more than others. The class understood the subtext. Izuku's reputation had grown beyond UA, beyond Japan even. International hero agencies were already reaching out, offering positions, requesting his assistance with major threats. But Izuku remained focused on his education, on mastering not just his power, but the 100 other aspects of heroism that mattered. The first major event of second year was announced. The Hero Billboard chart rankings were being updated, and UA students would attend the ceremony to see where the professionals stood. It was meant to be inspirational, showing students what they were working toward. The ceremony took place in a massive auditorium with hundreds of pro heroes present. The rankings were revealed in ascending order: number 10, number 9, working up to the top 3. Third place, Best Genus, despite his injuries from Camino Ward. Second place, Hawks, a young hero whose speed and tactical thinking had earned him rapid advancement. First place, Endeavor, All Might's retirement after Camino Ward had left a vacancy at the top. Endeavor, the flame hero who'd been number 2 for decades, had finally claimed the position he'd always coveted. But his expression wasn't triumphant. If anything, he looked angry, frustrated that he'd achieved his dream only because All Might had retired rather than being legitimately surpassed. During his acceptance speech, Endeavor's eyes found Izuku in the audience. "There's been talk," the flame hero said, his voice carrying across the auditorium. "Talk about a student at UA who possesses power that rivals or exceeds even the former #1 hero. The Hulk, they call him. A transformation that grants unlimited strength." The audience murmured. Every eye in the auditorium turned to Izuku. Some say this student should be ranked among professional heroes despite still being in school, that his contributions to defeating All for One earn him a place on this chart. Endeavor's flames flickered intensely. "I disagree. Power without experience is just potential. Until this student graduates, until he proves himself in professional heroics, he remains unranked." It was a direct challenge, barely disguised as professional assessment. Izuku stood, drawing everyone's attention. His voice was calm but carried through the auditorium. "I'm not interested in rankings, Endeavor. I'm interested in protecting people. When I graduate, when I've earned the right to be called a professional hero, then we can discuss where I belong on charts. And if you're called to act before then, if a threat emerges that requires your full power, then I'll act. Rankings won't determine whether I save people. Need will." The exchange ended with mutual respect, if not agreement. Endeavor recognized strength when he saw it, even in a student. And Izuku understood that the flame hero's pride demanded he maintain professional hierarchy. After the ceremony, Hawks approached Izuku. The #2 hero was young, charismatic, and moved with lazy confidence that disguised razor-sharp instincts. "The Hulk," Hawks said, extending his hand. "I've wanted to meet you. Your fights are impressive." "Thank you," Izuku replied, shaking his hand. "Your work with rescue operations is inspiring. Diplomatic and powerful. Interesting combination." Hawks studied him with those sharp eyes. "Word of advice? The Commission is watching you closely. They see you as either a valuable asset or a potential threat. Don't give them reason to choose the latter. I'm aware of their concerns. Are you aware they're considering legislation specifically targeting unregistered biological enhancements? Quirks they can understand and regulate. What you are. That scares them." The information was concerning but not surprising. Izuku had known his existence challenged the established system. "Let them pass whatever laws they want," Izuku said quietly. "I'll keep protecting people regardless of what bureaucrats decide." Hawks grinned. "Stubborn and idealistic? You're going to be either the greatest hero of your generation or the biggest headache the Commission's ever faced. Maybe both." The encounter left Izuku thoughtful. The Hero Public Safety Commission's interference was an ongoing issue, one that would require careful navigation as his career progressed. But more immediate concerns emerged. A new villain group called the Shi Hasaikai began making moves in the criminal underworld. They were different from the League of Villains, more organized, more focused on traditional crime rather than ideological destruction. Their leader, a man called Overhaul, possessed a quirk that could disassemble and reassemble matter. Intel suggested they were developing something dangerous, though details were sparse. Izuku's work study with Ryukyu's agency brought him into contact with the investigation. They were tracking the Shi Hasaikai's movements, trying to understand their goals. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A little girl named Eri. She ran into Izuku during a patrol, her expression terrified, bandages covering her arms. Behind her, a man in a plague doctor mask approached calmly. "Overhaul." "I apologize," Overhaul said smoothly. "My daughter got away from me. She's not feeling well." Every instinct Izuku had screamed danger. The girl's fear was genuine. The bandages suggested repeated injuries. The man's demeanor was too controlled, too predatory, but legally without evidence, Izuku couldn't act. If Overhaul was truly her father, intervening without cause would be assault and kidnapping. "Are you okay?" Izuku asked Eri gently, kneeling to her level. She opened her mouth to respond, then looked at Overhaul. Terror filled her eyes. I'm fine. Sorry for bothering you. She returned to Overhaul, who placed a possessive hand on her shoulder. They walked away, the girl's fear palpable even from a distance. Izuku reported the encounter immediately. Ryukyu's agency began investigating Overhaul and the Shiha Saikai more aggressively, coordinating with police to build a case that would allow legal intervention. What they discovered was horrifying. Eri wasn't Overhaul's daughter. She was his test subject. Her quirk allowed her to rewind living things, and Overhaul was using her blood to develop quirk-destroying drugs. He'd been systematically torturing a child to fuel criminal enterprises. The revelation filled Izuku with rage unlike anything he'd felt since Island. "We're raiding their compound," Ryukyu announced during the briefing. "Multiple agencies, full assault, authorized by the Commission. Our objectives are to rescue Eri, arrest Overhaul and his subordinates, and destroy their drug operation." "I'm going," Izuku stated. "It wasn't a request. I assumed you would be. Your power makes you ideal for breaking through their defenses." Ryukyu's expression was grim. "But, Izuku, you need to maintain control. I know what they've done makes you angry, but we can't have the Hulk destroying everything out of rage." "I'll stay controlled," Izuku promised, "but they're going to learn what happens when you torture children." The raid on the Shiha Saikai compound was coordinated chaos. Multiple hero agencies hit simultaneously. Ryukyu's team through the front entrance, Night Eye's agency from the rear, police establishing a perimeter. They expected resistance, expected Overhaul's subordinates to fight back. They didn't expect the compound to reconfigure itself. One of Overhaul's subordinates had a quirk that could manipulate the building's structure. Walls shifted, corridors rearranged, teams got separated. What should have been a straightforward raid became a maze where villains controlled the terrain. Izuku found himself separated from Ryukyu, navigating narrow corridors that kept shifting. His enhanced senses helped him track Eri's location. Her fear was like a beacon he could follow through the chaos. He encountered 3 of Overhaul's subordinates, experienced villains with quirks designed for combat. They attacked in coordination, using the shifting architecture to their advantage. The Hulk emerged. The corridor wasn't designed for his size. His transformation alone cracked walls and bent support beams. When the villains attacked, the Hulk simply walked through their assaults like they were inconvenient rather than dangerous. A punch shattered the corridor wall, creating a direct path forward. Another punch knocked 2 villains unconscious without seriously injuring them. The third tried to flee, and the Hulk let him. His focus was on reaching Eri, not on punishing every subordinate. He found Overhaul in a massive underground laboratory, Eri restrained on a medical table, terrified and alone. "The Hulk," Overhaul said calmly, despite the massive green figure that had just demolished a wall to enter. "I was curious when you'd arrive. Your power is fascinating. Biological enhancement through radiation exposure rather than quirk genetics. I wonder what I could learn from studying you." "You're not studying anyone ever again," the Hulk rumbled, advancing slowly. Each footstep cracked the concrete floor. Overhaul activated his quirk. The floor beneath the Hulk liquefied, trying to trap him. Walls shot up, attempting to cage him. Spikes erupted from every surface. The Hulk walked through it all. Overhaul's quirk was powerful. He could disassemble and reassemble matter, reshape his environment, even enhance his own body. But all of that meant nothing as someone whose strength had no upper limit and whose durability made him virtually indestructible. "Impressive," Overhaul acknowledged, reforming his environmental attacks faster and more aggressively. "But let's see how you handle this." He touched the ground, and massive stone pillars erupted, each one aimed at crushing the Hulk. Simultaneously, the ceiling began collapsing, tons of concrete designed to bury even superhuman opponents. The Hulk created a thunderclap. The compressed air shockwave demolished every attack, pulverized the stone pillars, and sent Overhaul flying backward. The villain crashed into his own laboratory equipment, his plague mask cracking. Before he could recover, the Hulk was there. One massive hand grabbed Overhaul by the throat, lifting him off the ground. The villain tried to use his quirk, tried to disassemble the Hulk's arm, but gamma-enhanced tissue resisted his ability. "You tortured a child," the Hulk said, his voice carrying barely restrained fury. You used her blood for profit? You deserve everything I want to do to you. Overhaul's eyes widened as he felt the Hulk's grip tightening. For the first time, genuine fear crossed his face. But I'm not a killer, the Hulk continued, his grip loosening slightly. And she doesn't need to see more violence. He looked at Eri, who was watching with terrified fascination. The little girl had seen so much horror, experienced so much pain. She didn't need to witness the Hulk executing her tormentor, as no matter how much he deserved it. The Hulk set Overhaul down and delivered a precise strike that shattered both the villain's arms, the same arms he'd used to activate his quirk to hurt Eri, to cause so much suffering. You'll never hurt anyone again, the Hulk stated. Your quirk requires touch, and now your arms are broken beyond your ability to repair. The authorities will handle the rest. He turned away from the broken villain and approached Eri carefully, transforming back to Izuku to appear less intimidating. It's okay, Izuku said gently, kneeling beside her. You're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore. Eri stared at him, tears streaming down her face. You're like me. You're scary, but you're not bad. Neither are you, Izuku replied, carefully releasing her restraints. What was done to you wasn't your fault. You're a victim, not a monster. He gathered her in his arms, holding her carefully as she sobbed against his shoulder. Around them, other heroes arrived. Ryukyu, Night Eye, police officers. They secured Overhaul, collected evidence, began the process of dismantling the Shiha Saikai's operations. But Izuku's focus remained on the little girl who'd suffered so much, who needed to know she was finally, truly safe. The aftermath of the raid was complex. Eri had no family, no one to care for her. Her quirk made her dangerous. Without control, she could accidentally erase people from existence. She needed specialized care, training, and most importantly, she needed to feel safe. UA offered to take her in temporarily. Aizawa, of all people, volunteered to serve as her temporary guardian. The perpetually exhausted teacher showed unexpected gentleness with the traumatized child. Izuku visited her regularly, their shared experience of having dangerous power they didn't ask for, creating a connection. He taught her meditation techniques, helped her understand that power didn't make her a monster. You're like a hero, Eri said one day watching Izuku train. Strong and scary, but nice. I'm still learning to be a hero, Izuku replied. Just like you're learning to control your quirk, we're both works in progress. Will I ever be normal? The question broke Izuku's heart. He remembered asking similar questions, wondering if he could ever be more than the Hulk. Normal is overrated, Izuku said gently. You're special, Eri. Your quirk is part of you, but it doesn't define you. You get to choose who you become. She smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. It was worth everything. As second year progressed, Izuku's reputation continued to grow. The rescue of Eri, his work with Ryukyu's agency, his consistent demonstration of power tempered by restraint, all of it built towards something larger. The Hero Public Safety Commission finally acknowledged what everyone else already knew. Izuku Midoriya was effectively already a professional hero. His provisional license was upgraded to a full hero license ahead of schedule, recognizing his exceptional circumstances. But with recognition came responsibility. A major villain threat emerged. Someone the commission deemed too dangerous for normal hero response. They called Izuku directly, requesting his assistance with what they termed an extinction-level threat. The villain was a man called Gigantomachia, a living mountain of a person with multiple quirks that made him virtually unstoppable. He'd been All for One's bodyguard, and with his master imprisoned, Gigantomachia was rampaging across Japan searching for the League of Villains. He'd already defeated dozens of pro-heroes, demolished entire city blocks, and showed no signs of stopping. We need the Hulk, the commission representative said bluntly. You're the only one we believe can match his strength. Izuku stood in Nezu's office considering the request. This was what he'd trained for, facing threats that normal heroes couldn't handle. But it was also exactly what the commission wanted, using him as a weapon, deploying him against problems they couldn't solve conventionally. I'll do it, Izuku said finally. But on my terms. I engage Gigantomachia, I stop his rampage, but I don't kill him unless absolutely necessary. And afterward, the commission backs off on their oversight demands. Those are my terms, Izuku interrupted. Take them or find someone else to fight your mountain. The commission reluctantly agreed. Izuku prepared carefully. He coordinated with Melissa, who designed support equipment specifically for large-scale combat. He meditated to ensure emotional control. He said goodbye to his mother and Melissa, just in case. "Come back," Melissa said, holding him tightly. "You always come back." "I always will," Izuku promised. The confrontation with Gigantomachia took place in a remote area, evacuated specifically to minimize civilian casualties. The villain was exactly as described: massive, powerful, seemingly unstoppable. Izuku transformed and approached. Gigantomachia saw the Hulk and roared, recognizing a challenge. He charged, each footstep creating small earthquakes. They collided with force that shattered the landscape. Gigantomachia was strong, stronger than almost any opponent Izuku had faced. His multiple quirks gave him enhanced strength, durability, size manipulation, and seemingly unlimited stamina. But the Hulk had something Gigantomachia didn't: unlimited growth potential. Each time they clashed, the Hulk got stronger. Each time Gigantomachia landed a hit, the Hulk's gamma-enhanced physiology adapted and increased its power output. The battle raged for hours. Mountains were leveled, the terrain was reshaped, shockwaves from their exchanges could be felt miles away, and gradually, inevitably, the Hulk began to dominate. A thunderclap that actually staggered Gigantomachia, a ground pound that created a crater the size of a city block, punches that overwhelmed even the mountain villain's legendary durability. Finally, after 6 hours of continuous combat, Gigantomachia fell. He wasn't dead. The Hulk had been careful about that, but he was defeated, too exhausted to continue fighting. The Hulk stood over him, barely breathing hard despite the extended battle. Around them, the landscape looked like a natural disaster had occurred. "Master is gone," Gigantomachia said weakly. "I failed him." "Your master was evil," the Hulk replied. "Following him was the mistake, not failing to find him." He waited for the authorities to arrive with specialized containment equipment. When they secured Gigantomachia, when the threat was neutralized, the Hulk transformed back to Izuku. The commission representative approached, barely concealing shock at what they'd witnessed. "You defeated Gigantomachia. Alone, something dozens of pro-heroes couldn't accomplish." "I kept my end of the agreement," Izuku said flatly. "Now you keep yours. Back off on the oversight, stop trying to control me, and let me do hero work without constant interference." "The commission will honor our agreement, but Midoriya," the representative's expression was complex. "You realize what this means, don't you? You're not just a powerful hero, you're potentially the most dangerous person in Japan. That comes with responsibility." "I'm aware. That's why I'm still at UA, still learning, still working to be worthy of this power. But I won't be anyone's weapon. I'm a hero, not a tool." The representative nodded slowly. "Fair enough. The commission will reassess our approach to your situation." The battle with Gigantomachia became legendary. Footage circulated showing the Hulk fighting a mountain of a villain to a standstill, demonstrating power that made even All Might's greatest feats look modest by comparison. Izuku returned to UA to find his classmates treating him with something approaching awe. He'd essentially defeated a threat that required entire teams of pro-heroes, and he'd done it while maintaining enough control to avoid killing his opponent. But more importantly, he returned to Melissa. She was waiting in his dorm room, having gotten permission to visit despite normally restricted hours. When he walked in, she ran to him, holding him tightly. 6 hours, she said, her voice muffled against his chest. "I watched the news for 6 hours, watching you fight that thing, terrified something would go wrong." "But nothing did," Izuku replied softly, holding her. "I'm okay. I'm always okay." "You're too stubborn to not be okay," she said, pulling back to look at him. "But that doesn't mean I don't worry." They sat together, talking through the battle, processing the implications. Izuku had effectively proven he was in a class beyond almost any hero in Japan. That would change expectations, change how people treated him, change everything. "We'll figure it out together," Melissa said firmly. "Whatever comes next, whatever challenges this brings, we handle it together." "Together," Izuku agreed. The final months of second year brought new developments. The League of Villains attempted one more assault, trying to rescue All for One from Tartarus. But with the Hulk on standby, with Hero Society prepared, the attempt failed spectacularly. Shigaraki, the League's new leader, confronted the Hulk briefly during the chaos. "You're the reason we keep failing," Shigaraki said, his expression twisted with hatred. "The reason All for One is imprisoned, the reason our plans fall apart. I should kill you." "You should try," the Hulk replied calmly, "but you'll fail like everyone else who's tried." Shigaraki decayed the ground beneath the Hulk, trying to make him fall into a pit. The Hulk simply leaped clear, landing with an impact that created shockwaves. "Your quirk doesn't work on me," the Hulk explained. "Gamma radiation makes my cellular structure too unstable for your decay to take hold. You'd need to touch me for several minutes continuously, and I won't give you that opportunity." The revelation enraged Shigaraki, who attacked desperately, but the Hulk defeated him as easily as he defeated every other League member, knocking him unconscious with a precisely measured strike. The League of Villains scattered after that, their leadership broken, their operations disrupted. They remained a threat, but a diminished one. Hero society stabilized. The symbol of peace's absence had created a vacuum, but new heroes were rising to fill it. Endeavor worked to become worthy of his ranking. Hawks proved himself repeatedly as the number 2 hero, and Izuku Midoriya, still technically a student, operated at a level that made rankings seem irrelevant. As second year ended and third year approached, Izuku reflected on his journey. He'd gone from a desperate, angry boy transformed by an accident to someone who'd mastered world-breaking power. He'd faced the greatest villains Japan had ever known and emerged victorious. He'd built a life, found love, created a future. The Hulk was no longer a curse or a burden. It was simply who he was, a part of his identity as fundamental as his intelligence or his determination. And Izuku Midoriya was ready for whatever came next. The third and final year at UA began with an announcement that changed everything. All Might, despite his retirement from active heroics, had been working behind the scenes on a project that would redefine hero education. He stood before Class 3A, now upperclassmen, veterans of countless battles, with a proposal. "The world is changing," All Might said, his presence commanding even in his diminished form. "New threats emerge constantly, and traditional hero training isn't always sufficient. So we're implementing something unprecedented. The World Hero Association Exchange Program." He explained the concept. Select students from hero schools across the globe would participate in joint training exercises, sharing knowledge and techniques. It was designed to prepare the next generation for threats that transcended national borders. "Young Midoriya," All Might said, his eyes finding Izuku. "You've been selected as UA's primary representative. Your unique capabilities and experience make you ideal for demonstrating what Japanese hero training produces." It was an honor and a challenge. Izuku would be representing not just UA, but Japan's entire hero education system, showcasing abilities in front of international audiences. "I accept," Izuku said. "When do we start?" "Next month. The program takes place in New York City, as coordinated with American hero agencies. You'll spend 2 weeks training alongside heroes in training from around the world." The news spread quickly. International media picked up the story. The Hulk, Japan's most powerful hero in training, would demonstrate his abilities on a global stage. Melissa was ecstatic. "New York, I'll be able to visit from Island easily, and you'll get to meet American heroes, see how they handle things differently." "You're not worried about me being gone for 2 weeks?" "I'm worried about the American heroes trying to recruit you," she replied playfully. "But I trust you. Just be yourself. Show them what real heroism looks like." The journey to New York was surreal. Izuku flew first class, accompanied by Aizawa as UA's supervising teacher. Other students had been selected too, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Yaoyorozu among them, but the focus was clearly on Izuku. American media was waiting at the airport. Questions came rapidly. "Is it true you can lift over 100 tons? Did you really defeat All for One's bodyguard alone? What's your relationship with the Hero Public Safety Commission?" Izuku handled them professionally, giving measured responses that acknowledged his power without bragging. It was a delicate balance, showing confidence without arrogance, strength without aggression. The training facility in New York was state-of-the-art, built specifically for this program. Heroes in training from America, Europe, Asia, and South America had gathered, 50 students total, representing the best their respective countries offered. The American hero, The American hero overseeing the program was someone Izuku recognized from international news, Captain Celebrity, a charismatic hero whose flight and strength quirk made him one of America's top heroes. "Welcome, everyone," Captain Celebrity announced, his voice carrying across the assembled students. "You're here because you're the best your schools have to offer. This program is about learning from each other, understanding different approaches to heroism, and building connections that will serve you throughout your careers." He paused, his eyes finding Izuku. "Some of you have already made quite a reputation, the Hulk from Japan, for instance. I'm curious to see if the stories are true." The challenge was subtle but unmistakable. Training began immediately. The program was structured around joint exercises, teams of students from different countries working together to complete rescue scenarios, combat simulations, and disaster response drills. Izuku found himself paired with an American student named Star, whose quirk allowed her to manipulate the properties of anything she touched. A French student named Phantom, who could phase through solid matter. A Brazilian student called Tempest with weather manipulation abilities. They were all powerful, talented, clearly selected as their country's best. But working together revealed immediate differences in approach. American hero training emphasized individual achievement and spectacle. European training focused on teamwork and coordination. Asian approaches valued discipline and restraint. Izuku brought his own perspective, power combined with analytical thinking, overwhelming capability, tempered by constant awareness of collateral damage. During their first rescue simulation, a building collapsed with civilians trapped inside. The team's different approaches clashed. Star wanted to enhance the building's structural integrity and dig through. Phantom suggested phasing through to scout the interior. Tempest proposed using wind to clear debris. Izuku assessed the situation with his enhanced senses, mapping the building's internal structure, locating trapped civilians, identifying the safest extraction route. "The building's too unstable," he said. "Star's enhancement might trigger a total collapse. Phantom, if you phase through and the structure shifts, you could get caught between spaces. Tempest, wind pressure might destabilize everything further." "So what's your suggestion, Hulk?" Star asked, a note of challenge in her voice. "I'll provide structural support while you all evacuate civilians. My strength can hold the building stable indefinitely." "That's insane. Nothing can..." Izuku transformed partially, just enough to demonstrate. He placed his hands against the support column and lifted, taking the building's entire weight on his shoulders. The structure stabilized immediately. Star stared. Phantom's jaw dropped. Tempest muttered something in Portuguese that sounded impressed. "Go," the Hulk said calmly. "I'll hold it. Get everyone out." They worked efficiently after that, the American, French, and Brazilian students coordinating to evacuate all simulated civilians, while Izuku literally held up a collapsing building. When the last civilian was clear, Izuku carefully lowered the structure, controlling its collapse to minimize damage. The simulation ended with perfect scores. Captain Celebrity reviewed their performance afterward. "Impressive work. But Midoriya..." He studied Izuku carefully. "You solved that problem by being stronger than the challenge. What happens when you face something that can't be solved with raw power?" "Then I use something else," Izuku replied. "Intelligence, tactics, coordination with teammates. I have power, but that's not all I have." "Prove it." The next simulation was designed specifically to test Izuku, a hostage situation where using force would endanger civilians, and the villains had abilities specifically designed to counter physical strength. Izuku couldn't just Hulk his way through this one. He coordinated with his team using Star's quirk to create distractions, Phantom's phasing to gather intelligence, and Tempest's weather manipulation to control the environment. Izuku himself used enhanced senses to track hostages and captors, fed information to his team, and only engaged physically when doing so wouldn't endanger civilians. The operation was surgical, precise, nothing like the overwhelming displays of power that usually characterized his heroics. "Well done," Captain Celebrity admitted when it concluded successfully. "You've proven you can think beyond brute force. That's what I wanted to see." The international students began treating Izuku differently after that. Not with fear or excessive awe, but with respect. They recognized he was powerful, yes, but also intelligent and willing to work within a team structure. Friendships formed across national boundaries. Star and Izuku developed a friendly rivalry, each pushing the other to improve. Phantom's dry French humor balanced Tempest's enthusiastic Brazilian energy. The team dynamics evolved from forced cooperation to genuine camaraderie. Midway through the program, Melissa visited. She flew in from Island, her father finally giving her more freedom now that she'd officially graduated and accepted a position with a New York-based support equipment company. Izuku met her at her hotel, and they spent the evening exploring the city together. It was the most normal date they'd ever had. No villains, no emergencies, just two people in love experiencing New York. "This program is good for you," Melissa observed as they walked through Central Park. "You're learning that being the strongest doesn't mean always leading, always being in front. Sometimes the best thing you can do is support others." "It's humbling," Izuku admitted. "I'm used to being able to solve problems through power. Having to step back, let others shine, it's harder than facing villains. That's what makes you a hero instead of just powerful. You're learning when not to use your strength." She squeezed his hand. "I'm proud of you." They talked about the future. Melissa's new position would keep her in New York for a few months before she could transfer to the Tokyo branch. Izuku would graduate in a few months and begin professional hero work. Long-distance relationships were challenging, but they'd already proven they could maintain one. "When you graduate," Melissa said quietly, "when you're officially a pro hero, I want to be your primary support equipment designer. Work exclusively with you, help you be the best hero you can be." "You already do that," Izuku replied. "You've been doing it since Island." "Then make it official. Partner with me, not just your girlfriend, but as your hero support specialist. Let me be part of your hero career in every way." "I'd be honored," Izuku said, pulling her into a kiss. The second week of the exchange program brought unexpected complications. A real villain attack struck New York. A group of criminals with powerful quirks attempting to rob a high-security facility. American heroes responded, but the villains were organized and dangerous. Captain Celebrity made a decision: deploy the exchange program students. "This is what you've been training for," he announced. "A real situation where people need help. You're authorized to use your provisional licenses and international hero permissions. Teams of 5 coordinate with local pros, and remember, you're representing your countries." Izuku's team mobilized with the American hero Salam. They arrived at the facility to find chaos. Explosions, structural damage, civilians trapped, and 6 villains with quirks ranging from energy projection to matter manipulation. "Standard approach," Salam directed. "Evacuate civilians first, then engage villains. Midoriya, I need you on structural support. Keep the building from collapsing." It was the same role as the simulation, but with real stakes. The Hulk emerged and took position at the building's damaged corner, his massive hands supporting tons of concrete and steel. Around him, his team worked efficiently, Star evacuating civilians, Phantom scouting for more trapped people, Tempest using weather manipulation to clear smoke and debris. The villains noticed the Hulk, recognized the threat, and made a critical mistake. They attacked him directly. Energy blasts, matter manipulation, even a villain with strength enhancement. They threw everything at the Hulk, trying to make him drop the building. The Hulk absorbed the attacks without even flinching. His focus remained on his task, keeping the structure stable so everyone inside could escape safely. When the last civilian was clear, when Salam confirmed evacuation was complete, the Hulk set the building down carefully. Then he turned to face the villains. "Structural support is done," the Hulk announced. "Now I can focus on you." What followed was efficient and brutal. The Hulk moved with speed that defied his size, taking down 6 villains in under a minute. Each strike was calculated, hard enough to incapacitate, but controlled enough to avoid serious injury. It was a demonstration of power, yes, but more than that, it showed absolute control. American media covered the operation extensively. The Hulk's performance, protecting civilians first, engaging villains only when safe to do so, using overwhelming power with surgical precision, became a case study in modern heroics. "You're making us look bad," Star said afterward, but she was smiling. "That was some impressive work." "It's what we're all learning to do," Izuku replied, transforming back to human. "Prioritize people, minimize damage, work as a team. That's heroism." The exchange program concluded with a ceremony where Captain Celebrity addressed all 50 students. "You've proven that heroism transcends borders," he said. "You've learned from each other, grown together, and demonstrated what the next generation of heroes will be capable of. Some of you," his eyes found Izuku, "have shown abilities that will reshape how we think about hero work entirely." After the ceremony, several American agencies approached Izuku with job offers. Substantial salaries, premium benefits, opportunities to work with America's top heroes. He politely declined them all. "My home is Japan," Izuku explained. "My commitment is to the people I grew up with, the society that gave me a chance despite my unusual circumstances. I appreciate the offers, but I belong in Tokyo." The return to Japan felt like coming home. UA welcomed back its exchange students with celebration and curiosity about their experiences abroad. But more than that, Izuku returned to find Hero Society in transition. Endeavor had been working to earn his position as number one, taking on increasingly dangerous missions, pushing himself to embody what All Might had represented. Hawks continued his rapid rise, his intelligence and adaptability making him invaluable for complex operations. And the Hero Public Safety Commission, true to their agreement, had backed off on their oversight attempts. They recognized Izuku as a hero who could be trusted with his power. The final semester of third year focused on preparation for professional hero work. Students completed internships, refined their specialties, and prepared for graduation. Izuku worked with multiple agencies, gaining diverse experience. He assisted with disaster relief, helped with major villain takedowns, participated in international operations when requested. But his focus remained on learning, improving, becoming worthy of the power he possessed. The graduation ceremony was emotional. Class 3A stood together, having survived 3 years of challenges that would have broken normal students. They'd faced villains, earned licenses, proven themselves in real combat. Principal Nezu gave the commencement speech. "You entered UA as students with dreams," he said. "You leave as heroes with purpose. Some of you will join agencies, others will become independent heroes, a few may even start your own offices. But all of you carry the responsibility of protecting people, of embodying the ideals that make Hero Society function." When Izuku received his diploma, when he officially became a UA graduate, the audience erupted in applause. His journey from quirkless kid to the Hulk, from angry victim of scientific accident to master of world-breaking power, it had captivated Japan. His mother was crying in the audience. Melissa was beaming. His classmates were cheering. All Might approached and shook Izuku's hand. "You've exceeded every expectation," the former symbol of peace said quietly. "You've become exactly what I hoped you'd be when I first saw you on Island. A hero who uses incredible power to protect people rather than dominate them." "Thank you for believing in me," Izuku replied, "even when I didn't believe in myself." After graduation, Izuku had decisions to make. Multiple top hero agencies offered positions. The commission suggested establishing his own agency, given his unique capabilities. International organizations requested his assistance with global threats. But Izuku chose something different. He established a small, specialized hero office focused on threats that normal heroes couldn't handle. Not an agency with dozens of sidekicks, but a lean operation designed to respond to extinction-level dangers. Melissa joined as his primary support specialist, designing equipment and providing technical expertise. A few select heroes, Todoroki, who'd specialized in rescue operations, and Yaoyorozu, whose creation quirk made her invaluable for complex situations, joined as partners rather than subordinates. They called it Gamma Protocol. Heroes specialized in impossible challenges. Their first major operation came when a villain with the ability to create and control kaiju-sized monsters attacked Tokyo. Conventional heroes evacuated civilians, but couldn't engage the creature without massive casualties. Gamma Protocol deployed. The Hulk faced the kaiju in downtown Tokyo, a battle that would be remembered as one of the most spectacular confrontations in hero history. The creature was massive, over 200 feet tall, with strength that leveled buildings and durability that withstood conventional hero attacks. The Hulk matched it. Every punch from the kaiju was met with equal force. Every attempt to destroy the city was countered by the Hulk's intervention. It was titanic, a battle that could be seen from miles away. Melissa coordinated from headquarters, providing tactical information, tracking the monster's movements, ensuring evacuation routes remained clear. Todoroki and Yaoyorozu supported by controlling the battlefield. Ice walls to redirect the kaiju created barriers to protect infrastructure. But ultimately, it came down to the Hulk. He fought the creature for 3 hours, gradually overpowering it as his strength ramped up in response to the challenge. When he finally delivered the decisive blow, a full-power thunderclap that stunned the kaiju long enough for him to physically restrain it, the entire city was watching. The villain controlling the creature was revealed and arrested. The kaiju was safely contained and studied, and Gamma Protocol had proven its worth. The weeks and months that followed established a pattern. Gamma Protocol handled threats that exceeded normal hero response: disasters, high-level villains, international incidents that required extraordinary intervention. Izuku's reputation grew beyond Japan, beyond Asia, to become truly global. He was recognized as one of the most powerful heroes in the world, someone whose abilities transcended normal rankings. But he remained grounded. He remembered his roots, maintained connections with his classmates, supported newer heroes who were just starting their journeys. And through it all, Melissa was there. She'd officially moved to Tokyo, her support equipment becoming sought after by heroes across Japan. But Gamma Protocol remained her priority, her partnership with Izuku extending beyond professional collaboration into the deepest personal connection either had ever experienced. 1 year after graduation, Izuku proposed. They were on the roof of Gamma Protocol's headquarters, watching the sunset over Tokyo. It was a city they'd both protected countless times, a place that felt like home. Melissa's shield, Izuku said, getting down on one knee, pulling out a ring he'd had specially designed. You've been my anchor since Island. The person who saw me instead of just the Hulk. The brilliant mind who helped me understand and control my power. The woman I love more than anything. Tears were already streaming down Melissa's face. Will you marry me? Izuku asked. Will you be my partner in everything, not just hero work, but in life? Will you build a future with me? Yes, Melissa said, laughing and crying simultaneously. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, a band designed to be as virtually indestructible as the earpieces she'd made, a symbol of something that would last. They kissed as the sun set over the city, two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful from the wreckage. The wedding was small and private, attended by close friends and family. Class 3A showed up in force, of course. All Might was there, wiping away tears. Even Bakugo attended, though he'd never admit how much Izuku's happiness meant to him. Melissa's father walked her down the aisle, finally having accepted that his daughter's future was with the green-haired boy who could turn into an 8-foot giant. When they exchanged vows, when they promised to support each other through whatever challenges life brought, everyone present knew they meant it. These were two people who'd already survived catastrophe, faced impossible odds, and emerged stronger for it. Their future together would be extraordinary. The years that followed saw Hero Society continue to evolve. New heroes emerged, each bringing their own approaches and abilities. The generation that had grown up watching All Might began giving way to those inspired by the diversity of modern heroism. Gamma Protocol became legendary, handling threats that would have required massive mobilization of conventional heroes. But more than that, it became a model for specialized hero work, small teams of experts rather than large agencies of generalists. Izuku and Melissa's partnership extended to other areas. They collaborated on research into quirk science and biological enhancement, seeking to understand the mechanisms behind the Hulk's power while ensuring it could never be weaponized. They mentored young heroes, teaching the next generation about power and responsibility, and they lived, building a life that was sometimes extraordinary, often normal, always fulfilling. 5 years after graduation, Izuku received a call that brought everything full circle. UA wanted him to teach. We'd like you to lead a specialized course, Principal Nezu explained, advanced combat and power management, teaching students who have extraordinarily powerful quirks how to use them responsibly. It was perfect. Izuku could pass on everything he'd learned, help the next generation avoid the mistakes he'd made, ensure that powerful young heroes understood that strength came with responsibility. He accepted. Teaching was different from hero work, but equally fulfilling. Izuku found himself working with students who struggled with the same questions he'd faced. How do you control power that could hurt people? How do you prove you're not a threat? How do you be normal when you're anything but? He had answers now. Hard-won wisdom from years of experience, mistakes made and learned from, growth achieved through constant effort. His students listened when he spoke about restraint, about using the minimum force necessary, about thinking 3 steps ahead. They believed him because he'd lived it. One student in particular reminded Izuku of himself. A boy named Koichi with a quirk that granted adaptive strength similar to the Hulk's, though nowhere near the same scale. "I'm scared I'll hurt someone," Koichi admitted after class one day. "My power keeps getting stronger, and I don't know how to control it." Izuku smiled. "I felt the same way. Still do sometimes. But control isn't about eliminating the fear, it's about channeling it into discipline. Your fear keeps you honest, keeps you careful. That's good. But what if I mess up? What if I lose control and people get hurt? Then you learn from it, make it right however you can, and commit to doing better." Izuku placed a hand on the student's shoulder. "You're not alone in this. You have teachers, friends, support systems. Use them. That's what I had to learn. That asking for help isn't weakness." Watching Koichi's expression shift from fear to determination reminded Izuku of his own journey. The cycle continued, each generation learning from the last, building on their predecessors' experiences. 10 years after graduating UA, Izuku Midoriya stood before the Hero Billboard chart ceremony as a presenter rather than an attendee. The rankings had shifted significantly. Hawks was #1 now, having earned the position through consistent excellence. Endeavor had retired gracefully, accepting that age came for everyone eventually. New heroes filled the top 10, young faces who'd been inspired by Izuku's generation. When it came time to present awards, Izuku took the stage. "Hero rankings are useful," he said, his voice carrying across the auditorium. "They give the public confidence, provide goals for young heroes to work toward, recognize excellence in our profession." He paused, looking around at the assembled heroes. But rankings don't tell the whole story. They don't capture the hero who talked a suicidal person off a ledge at 3 a.m. They don't recognize the rescue specialist who pulled 50 people from a collapsed building. They don't acknowledge the underground hero who prevented a tragedy by catching a villain before they could act. Being a hero isn't about being ranked. It's about protecting people, saving lives, making society safer and better. Whether you're #1 or #100, if you're doing that, if you're using your abilities to help people, then you're succeeding. The speech resonated. It was vintage Izuku, acknowledging systems while emphasizing that what really mattered was the work itself. After the ceremony, several young heroes approached him with the same question. "How do you do it? How do you handle having so much power without it changing who you are?" "It did change who I am," Izuku replied honestly. "But I chose what changes to accept. Power doesn't corrupt automatically. It reveals who you truly are by giving you the freedom to act on your nature. If you're fundamentally someone who wants to help people, power lets you help more people. And if you're fundamentally selfish, then power lets you be more selfish. That's why character matters more than quirks. You can be the strongest person in the world, but if you're a terrible person, you'll be a terrible hero." The conversation reminded him of talks he'd had with Melissa, with All Might, with everyone who'd helped shape his understanding of power and responsibility. The lessons never stopped. Even after a decade of hero work, even after becoming one of the most respected heroes in Japan, Izuku continued learning. 15 years after UA, Izuku and Melissa celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary. They'd built a life that was sometimes quiet, often exciting, always meaningful. Melissa had become one of the premier support equipment designers in the world, her innovations revolutionizing how heroes operated. Izuku had cemented his legacy as not just a powerful hero, but a thoughtful one. Someone who taught as much as he fought. They talked about having children eventually, about what it would mean to raise kids when one parent could transform into an 8-foot rage monster, and the other was a genius who could design weapons of mass destruction. "Our kids will be interesting," Melissa said, laughing. Imagine explaining to their teachers that mom's a genius inventor and dad's the Hulk. They'll learn early that being different is okay, Izuku replied. That power comes in many forms, and what matters is how you use it. You've really come a long way from the angry boy I met on Island. I had good help, the best partner anyone could ask for. They kissed, and in that moment, everything that had happened, the accident, the transformation, the struggles and victories, felt worth it. Because it had led him here, to this life, to this person, to this future. 20 years after graduation, Izuku Midoriya was invited to give the commencement speech at UA's graduation ceremony. He stood before the new graduates, young heroes ready to begin their professional careers, and remembered himself at that age, hopeful, determined, still learning what it meant to be a hero. When I started at UA, Izuku began, I was different from everyone else. I didn't have a quirk in the traditional sense. I had something else, something that scared people, something I didn't fully understand. I spent 3 years learning to control power that could destroy cities if I lost focus. I learned from amazing teachers, trained with dedicated classmates, and slowly figured out what being a hero actually meant. And the most important lesson I learned is this: being a hero isn't about your power, it's about your choices. You're all graduating today with incredible abilities. Some of you can manipulate elements, others can enhance your bodies. A few have quirks we've never seen before. That power is a tool, nothing more. What makes you a hero is deciding to use that tool to protect people, to make society better, to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. There will be challenges, villains who test you, situations where the right choice isn't clear, moments when you'll question whether you're strong enough or smart enough or good enough. In those moments, remember why you became a hero. Remember the people you want to protect. Remember that strength without compassion is just destruction, and that real power comes from knowing when not to fight. You're the next generation. You'll face threats we can't imagine, solve problems we haven't encountered, build a hero society that's better than what came before. And I have absolute faith that you'll succeed. Because that's what heroes do. We rise to challenges, we protect people, we make the impossible possible. Congratulations, class of 2040. Go out there and show the world what UA produces. The applause was thunderous. Izuku saw tears in the audience, inspiration on young faces, determination in graduating students' eyes. He'd come full circle, from student to teacher, from someone being inspired to someone providing inspiration. After the ceremony, Izuku walked through UA's campus with Melissa. The school had changed over the years, new facilities built, technology updated, but the core remained the same, a place where young people learned to be heroes. 20 years, Melissa said quietly. Since you first transformed, since our lives changed completely. Best 20 years of my life, Izuku replied. Even with the villains and danger and constantly having to prove I could control my power. What do you think the next 20 will bring? Izuku thought about it. Their future children, new generations of heroes, challenges that hadn't emerged yet, opportunities to make lasting change. Whatever comes, he said finally, we'll handle it together, just like we always have. They stood at UA's gates, looking out at Tokyo spreading before them. A city they'd protected countless times, a society they'd helped shape, a world that was better because they'd been in it. The Hulk's journey had started with catastrophe, an accident that could have destroyed Izuku Midoriya's life. Instead, it had become the foundation for something extraordinary, a hero who proved that power didn't have to corrupt, that strength could be tempered with wisdom, that someone transformed by tragedy could choose to protect others rather than lash out at the world. Izuku Midoriya, the boy who became the Hulk, had shown an entire generation that who you were mattered more than what you were, and that legacy would endure long after he finally retired, long after the Hulk became a story told to inspire future heroes, long after his name joined All Mights in the pantheon of legendary heroes who'd shaped society. Because real heroism wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest or the most famous. It was about making the choice, every single day, to use whatever power you had to protect people. And Izuku Midoriya had made that choice from the moment he first understood what it meant to be a hero. He would continue making it for the rest of his life. The The sun set over Tokyo, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Izuku and Melissa walked home together, hand in hand, ready for whatever tomorrow brought. Their story had begun with an explosion that should have killed them both. It had become a legend that would inspire heroes for generations to come. And in the end, that was more than either of them could have ever dreamed of achieving. The world needed heroes. It had the Hulk. And that made all the difference. The end.
And now, it's time for our Patreon shout-out. For our pro-hero tier, the rising stars lighting the path of justice, Ancient Chant and Javon McQuire. For our symbol of peace tier, the unshakable champions carrying the will of heroes themselves, Peter Hamilton, Chris Tully, Eth Voice, Alexander Thompson, Remorsefuls, Black Vein, Greg Green, Justin Pontanal, Nicholas Barnes, Joshua Hedrington, Aaron Abercrombie, Drift SK Eater, Akeno Himejima, Corey Tokars, Yan, Zero Hoop 3656, Devin Black, Rowdy Rich, King of the Pirates, Crow, Daniel Sharp, Roberto Ramos Di Cristina, Dasher Games, Joe Bros, Aiden Schmidt, Mason Edwards, Ray von Crimson River, Dante Alistar, Adam Yonkers, Blood Saints, Donna Cafe, Zeph, KC, Assassin 24, Howie 60, Ignacio, Moral, Freddie Rose, Omega, Toxic Rune, and Akuma Noakami. And for our Hope of the Universe tier, the legends whose strength shakes the stars, Spin Town, Jaden Garrett, Greg Green, James, Quanyan Thompson, Big Fro Pro, Juan, I'm Calver, Coolzy. Your support fuels every story, every battle, every moment we create. You're not just supporters, you're the reason this universe keeps growing.
You've seen what happens when the powerless become unstoppable, when rage meets purpose. This is just the beginning of my transformation, and I need you beside me for every earth-shattering moment. Smash that subscribe button like I smash through mountains. Drop a comment telling me which hero should face the Hulk next. The Gamma Storm is coming. Will you survive it? Plus Ultra.